Under the Southern California skies and in the shadow of Mount San Antonio lies Roger Penske's answer to Michigan International Speedway, the Auto Club Speedway. Home to NASCAR and IndyCar throughout the late 90s and early 2000s, the 2-mile, almost flat, D-shaped oval will play host to this season's IORL California Classic, our 500-kilometer contest to crown a champion. It's all coming up now on Pit Stop TV. Welcome to the virtual Fontana, California. So glad to be here. Cannot wait to get the show on the road. Trey Shuttlesworth over on our social media coverage, working a couple of kinks out, and hopefully get Eric Brennan on coverage as well. And boy, this is going to be a wild conclusion to an already storyline-ridden 2021 season for the IORL. Thanks for joining us on our Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter platforms this evening, and thanks to our partners at Tucson Sound Art, Race Pace Setups, Permanent Makeup in Maine, Whiplash Media, and BAM Racing Videos for making it possible. From the streets of Chicago to the Kentucky Speedway south of Cincinnati, we now get the wonderful scenery at the foothills of the San Gabriel Mountains of California to cap off the season with this points battle as our main point of conversation this evening. Brendan Madonia opens things up this evening with a 1-point gap back to Zach Buchanan, and they're both winless. Something I never thought I would have seen atop the point standings in this league. 2 drivers winless going for the championship. Now, Rick Ray Vaughn, he will not be here this evening. He sits in 3rd. We expect him to drop down to about 5th or 6th in the standings when it's all said and done. Kyle Cuthbertson can come from behind. He can still win this championship, along with 2-time winner Spencer Ray and single-time winner this season Reed Sweeney. So those couple of wins for Kyle Cuthbertson have really moved him on up through the order and have really put him in a prime position to potentially play spoiler to those 2 winless drivers up front. And boy, the storylines, if we get a winless champion throughout the season, this would be incredible if Madonia or Buchanan can do it without a single win on the season. Look through the rest of your point standings here. After 15 of 16 races this season, and this is what we're left with. You see drivers like Cole Freilich, drivers like Matt Walters, Corey Rexford making up the rest of your top 10. Alan Elwood comes in 11th. Nate Stewart there in 12th. Scottless Rambler 13th. Adam Key in 14th. On down to Matt Skipper, Jaron Faz, our own very own Trey Shuttlesworth, who won at Watkins Glen. They're in 17th position. Blake Erickson in 18th. Andrew Maibach in 11th. And Warren Keith in 20th. Sorry, Andrew Maibach in 19th. I do want to give a shout out to Andrew Maibach as well, tonight's presenting sponsor. Not sponsoring to promote anything, just sponsoring to make sure that we could bring this race to you live on Pit Stop TV. It is the California Classic. We look down the schedule now as all of the races we've had so far this season. You can see we started things off in the state of California, just a little ways away, over in Long Beach, on the streets of Long Beach for the 12th IORL Grand Prix of Long Beach. Then Barber Motorsports Park way back in April, along with the Milwaukee Mile. That took us then to Monza, the Indianapolis Motor Speedway Road Course. Those races were not covered, but then we were back for the 12th annual Indianapolis 500 here in the IORL, followed up by Texas, Road America, Iowa. We rejoined the series at Michigan at race number 10 back in June. Then Mid-Ohio, I was in that race, that was a fun one. Gateway at race 12, Watkins Glen at race 13, the one that Trey Shuttlesworth won. Then the series added 2 races, the Chicago Street Course in Chicago, Illinois, and the Kentucky Speedway a couple of weeks ago, before wrapping things up this evening for the California 500-kilometer race, the California Classic. We'll take a look now at the track map, of course, for the Auto Club Speedway here in Fontana, California. This is how things look. 14 degrees in each corner, 11 degrees down the front stretch, the curved front stretch that makes it quite interesting to sit in, and you can really see a whole lot here from the front stretch grandstands at the Auto Club Speedway. And then, of course, 3 degrees in the back stretch, very flat, very bumpy. That will be the story of the evening, at least between turns 2 and 3. The bumps setting you up into turn number 3. They can certainly jostle a car around, and they can move a car out of line a little bit, certainly potentially enough to cause an incident. We'll follow that throughout the course of the evening. Practice is getting wrapped up. Drivers are actually finishing their drivers meeting as we speak. We're going to roll into qualifying momentarily. Don't go anywhere. More coverage is on the way from Pit Stop TV.
Have you found yourself trying to hide your joy because you're unhappy with your teeth? Your smile is the first feature noticed in an interview, on a date, or in family photos. We want you to be able to shine bright as your best self, and our teeth whitening system is the perfect step toward restoring your confidence.
Sound Art is a product that is a speaker and it's art. We combine it together and we call it Sound Art. What makes it so unique that any picture can be your speaker? Sound Art gives you the high quality sound without the ugly speaker. This isn't a picture with a speaker, the picture is the speaker. Just imagine your wedding picture uploaded onto a canvas and now it's speaking 10,000 tunes. I mean, it's a very cool concept. What we like so much about it that you can take anything that means something very special to you, upload it on the canvas, have it hanging up in your room, your balcony, wherever you want to put it, and now it's a speaker. I mean, how cool is that? It's something that we have that and no one has. No one has this product. It's just a great gift to give anybody. It's just a neat concept. Around here we say, art never sounded so good.
After months of quarantine, we're all interested in how we can become our best self. The team at Permanent Makeup and Cryo is here to help you get the flawless makeup look every day without the extra effort or time. When it comes to your appearance, you deserve the best care that money can buy.
Welcome back to the Virtual Auto Club Speedway. Qualifying underway, and as you can see at the top of your screen already, Matt Skipper laying down a purple time. He's the first one to put any kind of time in. Jake Walsh now hitting the banks of the Southern California Auto Club Speedway. Here's Jake Walsh working down to turn number 3. You can already see the bumps that he's having to go over down the backstretch. It's certainly going to be a wild one here at California. It's going to be a fun one as well. Cole Freilich now steps up to the top of the board. Here comes Jake Walsh across the line. Where does he go between these 3 drivers? Now 4 drivers as Ray Dolly takes a time. Up to pole goes Jake Walsh. So let's check out the rest of the order as they come through and qualify. Chris Aurelio, brand new to the series. He's won here before on Pit Stop TV, albeit in other competitions. Actually, you know what? It might have been here in IORL. I forget if it was IORL or SRCA way back when, but Chris Aurelio has done it on fuel mileage before. Here's on board with our very own Trey Patton working down the backstretch at Auto Club Speedway. Kraus now goes fastest. It's Jonathan Kraus in the 83 car. Trey Patton in the number 66 working through turns 3 and 4. Up and, well, not really up and off of the corner at all. Staying very low on the very bottom side of the speedway. Comes across the line. Where does Patton go? Fastest new fast time for the driver out of Owensboro, Kentucky. Turned a North Carolinian very, very recently. How about that for the driver of the 66? So many more taking to the speedway. William Avery is here in the number 17. Brendan Madonia, championship competitor, is now on the speedway. Just over a minute to go. You see Madonia working down the backstretch. You see how fast he's going as well. 220 miles an hour, barreling off at a turn number 3. And there is not much banking here at Auto Club Speedway. 14 degrees, and that's it. You better hope that the car sticks. Spencer Ray goes 4th quick. He's one of our championship competitors now behind Reed Sweetie in 3rd. Here comes Madonia across the line and qualifying. Where does he go? Position number 2 for Brennan Madonia in the number 49. So a solid lap for the 49 car. We'll see how lap 2 turns out. We stay on board with him. Down the backstretch he'll go one more time. Kyle Cuthbertson is also on the speedway in the number 34. He's working around the track to take his, well, complete his first flying lap. 20 seconds remain. Brennan Madonia out of turn number 4. Down to the start-finish line. Does he go faster? Cuthbertson's gone 2nd quick. Now Madonia, 2nd quick. How about these two? Here's Cuthbertson down the backstretch. I don't think he's going to get back around, but certainly a valiant effort nonetheless from each and every one of these drivers to go for pole, but it's going to be Trey Patton atop the speed charts. How about that for Trey Patton taking pole at the Auto Club Speedway for the California Classic for the International Online Racing League. You can see the scenes here at the Auto Club Speedway. Look at the very, very vibrant, vivid sunset off in the distance out exactly to the west, down at the foothill of the San Antonio Mountain. Mount San Antonio, that's what I was looking for. Mount Baldy and so many other fantastic mountains off behind the backstretch. Let's take a look through our field as we get set to go for 500 kilometers. Trey Patton on pole in the number 66. It's going to be Brennan Madonia, championship competitor, to his outside in the number 49. Starting from third place this evening for the California Classic, it's Kyle Cuthbertson, another driver on the edge of contending for a championship. 12 points out of it, but he can certainly play upset this evening, maybe even grab his third win and clinch the title for himself. Jonathan Kraus to his outside of the number 83, starting fifth place this evening. It's Reed Sweeney in the number 9, Spencer Ray in the number 6 to his outside. They're both vying for a championship, albeit 20 points out of contention. Starting 7th this evening, it's Jake Walsh in the number 36 with Chris Aurelio to his outside of the number 18. Starting in the 9th position, it's the 5 car of Alan Elwood, a win or so on his record this season with Andrew Maibach in the number 11 in 10th. Starting 11th this evening, Cole Freilich in the 15, then Ray Dolly in the 31. Starting 13th, it's William Avery with Matt Skipper to his outside. The inside of row number 8 goes to Garrett Pick, and whoa, Rick Ray Vaughn. I have overlooked, apparently, the potential for Rick Ray Vaughn to still show. He has entered the session. I don't know that he's going to race or not, but he is entered into the session. There's Matt Chubb, the Indianapolis 500 winner. Corey Rexford to his outside in the 18th position. Starting 19th, breaking up the rear of the field, Zach Buchanan, the final championship competitor on our list. He enters this race 1 point behind Brendan Madonia with a chance to go for glory. You see Brendan Madonia working around the speedway with Trey Patton to his inside. Trey Patton on pole for our 500 kilometer event from the Auto Club Speedway. Down the back stretch for the final time before we turn these guys loose on the front stretch. For again, 500 kilometers. That's 156 laps for these guys to go and battle this evening. The last time I was here with the IORL was back at Michigan. So from one 2-mile D-shaped oval to the next, we've got the finale for the 13th season, I believe. Is it 12th season? One of the two for the International Online Racing League. Working out of turn number 4. The field is in the hands of Trey Patton. Coming down to the starting grid, we'll wait on these drivers to get things started. We'll wait on the signal from the flag stand as well. Trey Patton leading us to the green flag is displayed, and we are racing for 156 in the California Classic. Working down the backstretch already, Kyle Cuthbertson taking the lead. He's got the lead to the outside of Trey Patton. Patton right back to the lead on the bottom side. Now it's Madonia outside of 3. 3 wide on the turn number 4. They'll race back down to the start-finish line. Who leads lap number 1? It's going to be the 66 of Trey Patton.
And with 1 lap in the books already, we get an idea as to the rapid pace with these Alara IR18s around the speedway. And we're seeing Patton continue to consistently fall down. Oh no, I'm looking at the wrong car as we ride on board here. Down the back straightaway. Already 1.5 laps in the books here and still a long way to go here. 500 kilometers on tap tonight.
Rick Ray Vaughn may not have made the start, but he certainly showed up at the very least to get his credit for being here this evening. Out of turn number 4, lap number 2 going to be in the books. Trey Patton leads us across the line. Brennan Madonia to his outside. Spencer Ray in tow. Kyle Cuthbertson there as well. Elwood goes fastest. 3 wide again. Ray splitting the middle.
And we're seeing that with premium grip early in the run that drivers are going to be aggressive, and it's quite interesting to note the aggression considering the fact that we do have one fast repair available tonight, which makes me think, if you're one of the drivers, whether it be, say, Madonia, Cuthbertson in this championship scenario, you do have a little bit of leeway in terms of trying to vie for track position before that tire fallout does occur.
And you can see very low temperatures, 65 degrees in the air, 67 on the racetrack. That's keeping things nice and cool, nice and gripped up. Side by side, a couple of championship competitors go once more. That is Cuthbertson on the outside of Ray as Matt Skipper went fastest. One car up the racetrack. That was, I think, Elwood in the number 5. Really getting tight out of turn number 2. Holds on to things. Will race down to turn 3. Cuthbertson in the lead.
A fantastic save there, and yet we see only a minuscule gap there for the lead and already a handful of lead changes between the front few. Looks like at the moment our pole sitter Trey Patton has already faded back to the back end of the top 5, but still a lot to play with. Only 4 laps complete very early into the running here at the Auto Club Speedway.
Watching them fan out through turns 1 and 2. William Avery took a couple of laps, but it looks like he might be done for the afternoon. Corey Rexford bringing up the rear of our cars still running. And in fact, there is Corey Rexford in the number 03, following Jake Walsh at a turn number 3 in the 36 car. Zach Buchanan comes in, no wins in the season, potentially his most unlucky season yet in the IORL, yet just 1 point away from winning a championship. This is a fantastic opportunity if he can get it done as Jake Walsh goes purple that lap. A fantastic opportunity, and for Zach Buchanan at this point in the race, lap number 6, you see everybody racing up there 2-3 wide. This is a great place to be.
I think it kind of reflects the attitude that Buchanan tends to have in these races. You will tend to see aggression come out of this driver from the state of Ohio on occasion, but he does tend to have, consistently mid-pack showings. And in fact, he's the only driver coming into tonight to have shown up to every race so far in the round of the championship. So it does tend to show that the consistency can get you into the championship picture with the points format utilized by the series.
A lot of black and red machines up front as they work through turns 1 and 2 once more. Now, almost 200-mile parade laps down to turn number 3. Spencer Ray going to take the point on, it looks like the middle side of the racetrack. Here comes Freilich down low. No, Freilich up high. You know what? These guys have such similar paint schemes. It's tough to tell sometimes, but that is Cuthbertson on the bottom, trying to lead there over Spencer Ray. I think he got it. Now Freilich looks the middle, and he brings Elwood along with. Here comes Elwood to the top side.
Yeah, and what is also making it really difficult to tell the liveries apart. Oh, we do have a first yellow flag of the night. We'll have to see what the origin of the incident is. Pretty early into the running, only about 7 laps completed here.
It's William Avery in the number 17, all by his lonesome. Problems for the driver out of the Mid-South, I believe Tennessee. He works down the speedway. You see no right front tire, at least connected to that car anymore. I guess it's technically connected. You can see it riding along there, I suppose, connected by tethers here. But his car with a lot of damage down the backstretch. We'll have to go back and see what happened to him. But you can see, look at the sparks flying to the backstretch as he's got problems.
Unfortunate for someone who is among the many part-timers here in the IORL series. In fact, this is only Avery's second start of the season. But the fortunate thing, as all drivers have available to them, he gets to utilize that one fast repair. Very simply go into your pit box, make sure you have the fast repair box selected and your prompt of choices when you go down to the pit lane, and he'll have a completely fresh Stellara IR18 available to him over the next 140 laps or so here as we look to see what the origin of this incident might have been here for William Avery.
He had already pitted once. That makes me wonder if he's already used his repair. But down to turn 1, just enters very low. I mean, he just went straight. I mean, there's no other way to put that one. He just went straight into the wall.
That is very confusing to try to determine what the result might have been that caused that particular incident, because it's been a while since I personally driven this combination, but I would imagine that the IndyCars would be relatively flat out through corners here without any turbulent air ahead of you, the driver. So yeah, otherwise maybe issues with hardware. Could have been a add-on wheel on, say, a Fanatec piece of equipment that came loose. I'm not sure what else it could have possibly been.
That's a confusing one there for sure for William Avery. You can see he pounds the wall and the field comes by, so that's the origin of the yellow. You can see, oh my goodness. That's not a great place to have a parked car with the rest of the field coming by at 200 plus miles per hour in the middle of the corner, but thankfully everybody went on by without issue. So William Avery stuck in the pit lane, but Kyle Cuthbertson remains the race leader. Spencer Ray stays out with him, along with 10 other drivers by the names of Freilich, Elwood, Skipper, Madonia, Sweeney, Patton, Maybach, Aurelio, Kraus, and Ray Dolly. Corey Rexford, the first driver to go into the pit lane, and he brings Jake Walsh, Matt Chubb, and more along with. Looks like Buchanan also taking service, and he is just now leaving the pit lane. I wonder if anything has gone on the driver of the 4-car. Actually, you know what that might have been, Trey? That might have been him going in and reviewing the incident.
Hey, to be fair, we've both had our fair share of races here in the series, and that's what my mind would immediately go to in this scenario. And the fortunate thing for Buchanan is, because of the way the rules are in the series, in the sense that, you know, your race control is an in-race driver, he will be able to reclaim his position on the racetrack if need be. But admittedly, he probably came down onto the pit lane and probably acquired some fuel, so that will still put him near the back end of the field.
Yeah, I would imagine, yeah, he's just going to line up behind Chubb there in the 16th position. William Avery then takes position 17, Garrett Pick position 18, Rick Ray Vaughn position 19. So getting credit for showing and technically for the start, but here comes Brendan Madonia down the pit lane, lap 11. Yeah,
I'm not entirely sure what the fuel window is, but it is a common strategy, at least later into the running of a race, to see drivers come down onto the pit lane and top off on the last lap before going to a green flag, just to provide a little bit more variability in terms of strategy and being able to stretch out your run a little bit. But maybe he's done enough long run practice to think that he might have opened a window here with this caution flag.
Yeah, this might play into his strategy potentially. I mean, up front, the pace car lights have been extinguished, so this is our one green signal for the drivers. And Spencer Ray will, again, start behind Kyle Cuthbertson. So certainly, I think that comes down to a penalty, or not a penalty call, a strategy call there for the driver of the 49. But it's just interesting to me that he would throw himself to the back of the field like that after staying out the first lap. Usually when drivers do that, they opt to come in on the first go-around as well, but that was not the case here for Brendan Madonia, just opting to come in and grab fuel. I don't even recall if he grabbed tires, to be entirely honest with you. But we will have a full field of 16 cars coming around to take the green flag here momentarily. Kyle Cuthbertson leading the way. This will mark 11 laps complete, 12. Well, it'll be lap 12 on the board when we get this show restarted. The iRacing pace car taking back to the safety of pit lane. Kyle Cuthbertson leads us down to the green flag, and we're off and away once more. Down the back stretch, Cuthbertson leading, Spencer Ray getting closer. Look at the draft down into turn number 3, and Ray goes high. Freilich stays low in third. Ray going to have a run on Cuthbertson by the line. Here he goes, going to try and get the lead for lap number 12. And, oh my goodness, a dead heat. That would have been a finish that would have been far too close to call. I think Cuthbertson still had him at the line. Ray's still trying on the outside. No real help up there, but here comes Freilich now to maybe think about it, maybe think about 3 wide. I don't know. Ray goes back up high. Cuthbertson holding down low, and Freilich in tow.
Hey, up to this point, we're just seeing a different variation of what we saw with Nork at Fontana a month or two ago. The fact that multiple lanes are really available to these race car drivers tonight to try to make use of effectively. And that's just awesome to see, especially when you consider the abrasiveness of this racetrack for such a high downforce vehicle. I think we're in for quite the show tonight, as we're already seeing 3 wide between Elwood, Ray, and Cuthbertson into 1 and 2 here on lap 14.
Battling out of turn number 2, it looks like Elwood down to the bottom side, all the way down onto the apron, and he backs out of that one wisely as Cuthbertson held his ground down low. Cuthbertson and Ray, they need to win tonight, realistically, to make it, and, well, not make it into anything, but to try and win the championship. They've got to win to give themselves the best chances. I think Cuthbertson can do it without winning, but it would be very, very close with his 12-point gap. You see Freilich kind of nose in there, thought about it for a moment. Elwood stays back. Freilich stays even further back, and Matt Skipper even there as well.
And Freilich has the benefit of not having to necessarily race with points in mind tonight. And he's often a driver who will come into a race with the mindset of, push very hard and try to go for that race win. And he has been provided the opportunity. He just has to have a little bit of respect for the championship drivers around him.
Oh yeah, Cole Freilich definitely gets a little bit aggressive. You can see side by side for the lead. Here comes Skipper on the outside. Freilich is somebody who will definitely lay it out all on the line every single lap if he has to, and that's what he's currently doing. We saw that back at Michigan. Earlier on in the season, Elwood slides up in front of Skipper. Skipper gives him the line of day to save that one, and they keep racing. Maibach in behind. He goes low now as 3 wide remains up front. Freilich up top. Spencer Ray in the middle. And Cuthbertson down low. Elwood gets tied again. Almost pushes into Freilich. He's got to get careful with that.
It is pretty interesting to note that so far on this run, it seems like Cuthbertson, has been doing quite an effective job of maintaining this race lead on the inside line. And admittedly, it hasn't seemed like he's had a whole lot of assistance from behind. Seems like for the most part, drivers have been looking to his outside and looking for that overtake as opposed to, just settling in on that inside line and maintaining, moderate track position out there. We're looking yet again 3 wide onto the entry of a corner. Cuthbertson continues to hold that slight advantage through the middle of the corner over the likes of Ray and Freilich.
Love watching these guys just going by, and it's at 3, almost 4 wide. Are they going to think about it for a moment? I think Freilich considered it, but thinks better of it. I think that's a good move by him. My goodness, these guys. This is fantastic racing for lap 18 of 156. This is why these drivers get so excited and turn out in these kind of droves. Oh my goodness, Alan Elwood. I don't think 4 is going to work.
Not at all, but if we're going to see anything from these IORL drivers, I think, or rather what I'm trying to get is the fact that if anyone's going to be able to pull off 4 wide here at Fontana, it's going to be these IORL drivers. Week in, week out, always been on a consistent show. It doesn't really matter the type of racetrack either, as yet again we go into turns 1, looking 3 and 4 wide yet again. Cuthbertson continues to hold that lead. Ray in second, or now Skipper into second.
Yeah, Matt Skipper moving up in the world, and he's up into that second spot, as you mentioned. Spencer Ray a little further back on the bottom line as well. And things starting to single file out. I think the tires have worn off quite a bit here. Kyle Cuthbertson with the race lead, pulling away. He's pulling tenths back to Skipper.
And I think this is the biggest gap in 20 laps so far that we've seen from a race leader here, outside of, if you will, the leader pulling a little bit of a gap off of the initial start. 3 wide for that second position. We're running on board on the back of the Cuthbertson DeLaura, and down the back straightaway, the driver who's holding the advantage now, it's Cole Freilich, and not by much, over Spencer Ray as we head into turn 3.
It was a scary moment momentarily for Matt Skipper. He slid up, and I think he was just following in line behind Cuthbertson for a little bit too long. You see the entire field working out of turn number 4. Trey Patton, your pole sitter, has fallen back a little bit. They spread 3 wide once more. Ray up to the top side. Freilich has the lead for the moment.
And just 1 lap ago, we were noting the fact that the drivers behind Cuthbertson had really fallen off, and within 2 miles, they've garnered quite the slipstream, and now we're yet again going to be 3 wide, and I don't think Cuthbertson is going to have anything for these 2 this time by. The opportunity was there for Ray to clear to the bottom, but he's going to maintain that middle line, because honestly, the margins were a little bit sketchy, and yet again, we'll have that drag race to the start-finish line, and if you were to imagine this were the end of the race, it'd be a 3 wide duel where Spencer Ray leads by 18 milliseconds.
You can almost consider it 4 wide because Elwood is thinking about it. Every single time he gets a run up to the field like that, he thinks about it more and more, and thankfully he's thought better of it so far, but at some point he'll go ahead and stick it 4 wide, I'm sure, as Ray is going to clear down to the bottom side and finally move Cuthbertson out of the lead on that bottom side. Freilich now on top, and you can see Cuthbertson in the dirty air for the first time. Ray's just about having to really lift and back out.
And we'll start to get a little bit of a sample size as to what happens to race leaders once they start to fall back to the field. We look to the likes of Trey Patton. Now, he very well could be coasting, but he's currently running in the back end of the field in the 15th position on the racetrack as of the last lap. But it appears for the time being, Cuthbertson's going to attempt to stay in the fight as he maintains 3 wide on the outside heading into the entry of turn 3. Maibach provides an excellent perspective as to the front of the field right now.
And look at how they sort things out of turn number 4. Here comes the 6 car on the bottom side. He's going to lead that lap again. Freilich up top of the 6. Cuthbertson thinks about 3 wide. Is he going to go? He does go 3 wide. and push the 15 up the racetrack just a little bit without even touching him. Elwood sticks there, falls back a little bit though. Cuthbertson back to the race lead, back down to the bottom side as well. Elwood locks into line behind Freilich, now steps back out high, looking for air.
And unlike a lot of his competitors, Cuthbertson really provided a lot of opportunities for his Firestone Firehawks to stay cool by staying out of that turbulent air, and it pays off. A very quick run back up to the front of the field, but yet again, Cole Freilich storming to the outside line, and he's going to have a little bit of assistance there from Alan Elwood. Elwood pops out to the outside line, 3 wide into the entry yet again. We see yet again the fade from the middle, and then even more of a fade from the outside line. Elwood looking 3 wide yet again down the back.
Best run so far from Alan Elwood up top of the racetrack. He takes the lead at least for a moment, but back down to turn number 3. And I think the guys in the bottom have him. Yes, they do. Elwood's going to have to try something else. I don't know that top side is really going to work for the race lead. He can certainly maintain up there. I just don't know that he can overtake these guys from the top of the racetrack. Cuthbertson leads that lap. Elwood gets back up high. Skipper is back into things and right up the racetrack.
Yeah, and he's going to have a bit of a loss of momentum as well, as he's very easily going to fade into the midfield as a result of that little bit of a miscue. And now looking to the middle, yet again, it's going to be Freilich, and as we've seen for the last couple of laps, Elwood looking to the outside. But yeah, as you said, Andrew, just a lap ago, it seems like the outside line is going to be tough without a lot of assistance from behind. Even then, it's going to be tough to get it done.
At least this early in the run. I think later in the run it might come in, but you're going to have to really hold the guy on the bottom, or the guys on the bottom in this case, down there and force them to really have to lift. Right now, it's just not going to cut it. As you can see, Cuthbertson takes that one, and Skipper, my goodness, oh my God, I don't even know. Just falls way back. Way back goes Skipper. Aurelio now joining the fight. He's side by side with Weibach down to turn 3, but the lead 3 still going at it. Elwood joining Freilich, joining Cuthbertson.
And we nearly saw a collision of side pods between the top 2, and yet again, Freilich and Elwood nearly come together off the back straightaway. We're going to backtrack a little bit and see where the likes of Matt Skipper are, and he's faded all the way back to the 8th position, which, considering the little bit of a bobble he had, probably isn't too bad, all things considered.
No, considering how close he got to the cars around him, that's not all that bad, considering everything. And oh my gosh, Elwood still just getting those runs on the straightaways and ducking back up to the top side to try and find something in the corners. I just don't think it's going to work. He's got to find a way to get to the inside of at least Cole Freilich at some point, as Freilich works the middle in between Cuthbertson and Elwood. 3 very similar paint schemes, black and red with some white text. It's tough to tell them apart.
Regardless of being able to pull off that overtake for the lead or not, for, say, Alan Elwood, in the least, he definitely has premium track position as a result. And he might even be getting a lot of tire saving as a result of not having to put in as much wheel input. And he also has quite a bit of clean air in the corners, which is where the tires can very easily wear away if you have a lot of turbulence.
Finally, Elwood thinks about the bottom side, goes down low, not quite to the apron, but tucks in behind Kyle Cuthbertson. That might be the ticket for Alan Elwood, honestly. If he can pass Cole Freilich, he might have something, as here comes Spencer Ray right back to the fight. He takes Elwood's spot up top, and Freilich ducks in behind Cuthbertson.
It's very interesting to see. Probably about halfway into the run, as here we are side by side yet again for the lead. It's going to be Freilich once more. He's nearly all the way clear, riding on board this time with Chris Aurelia. He sits right outside of the podium 3 at the moment, but he has a lot of momentum that he's garnering on the outside line. Unfortunately, he cannot duck to the bottom at the moment. Going to stay committed up top. Yet again, we're going to be looking 3 wide for the lead. But instead of Elwood on top, we'll have Spencer Ray, a championship contender, of course.
And Cuthbertson, of course, going for that championship as well. Ray enters this race 20 points back. There's contact. Aurelia gets sideswiped. Was that... I can't tell if that was Skipper or Maybach that got him. I think that was Skipper that got him. My goodness, that might have actually been Elwood. Elwood has really dropped on this lap. That might have been Alan Elwood. I see damage, I think, to the right front winglet. It's tough to say.
A little bit of an inspection. It's a little bit tough to tell there with Elwood. And it depends on how you look at it. Where he is right now, he's in between these 2 packs that have formed, so he's going to get a little bit of a breather after that, but if he's once looking to contend for the lead this early into the race, it's not boding well. I don't mean to jinx anything by saying this, but it's a 500-kilometer race, so the chances of a caution occurring over the course of the next 120 laps or so, there's a decent chance of it. This time we'll ride on board with championship contender Zach Buchanan, who currently rounds out the tail end of this 9-car lead pack.
And without doing a whole lot of math, he might have this right now. No, actually, right now, Cal Cuthbertson would have the championship with where Zach Buchanan is. So this points format, it pays points mostly to the drivers up front. So you've got to get up there if you're Zach Buchanan. You have got to go contend at least for a podium, if not better, if you want to make sure you win this championship. He is a ways ahead of Brendan Madonia, which would help him a lot, but he's still got to contend with, of course, the 34 car of Cuthbertson that is going for the lead lap after lap after lap, and leading a lot of those laps as well as Aurelio with the chrome wheels to the top side of, well, it was 3 wide into 1, now it's back single file for a moment, maybe 3 wide again out of turn 3.
This time the back straightaway, Freilich has a little bit of assistance there from Aurelio, but yet again we're going to see that car who's, third place on the racetrack duck out to the outside and get some clean air through the corner. Now Freilich washes up, takes away a lot of that clean air that's available. And Cuthbertson is just doing a massively effective job of controlling this race. With the amount of slipstream that's in effect on these straightaways, it's just a very effective job so far of maintaining very consistent control up front.
And we're getting closer and closer to just 100 laps to go. It's still 20 laps away, sure, but you got to start thinking about when these drivers might come in and pit. I dare say within the next 10 laps or so, we'll see pit stops, maybe pick up, maybe a little bit longer, maybe closer to 15. But, Cuthbertson a little bit low on the racetrack. And keep in mind, these drivers up front haven't pitted yet. They did not take fuel at that caution.
In fact, of the drivers that pitted on that initial yellow flag, none of them are in the lead pack right now. The farthest up of them is Matt Chubb currently, who's in the 12th position on the racetrack, just to give a little bit of context. So we do have a little bit of variance in strategies, and if we go green for a while, it'll be interesting to see if that provides any mix-ups in the long run. Yet again, the story remains the same up front. Freilich looking to the outside line, and a lot of perspective between these two. There's a lot of aggression, of course, but massive amounts of respect between the top two, and everyone in the field, just considering the fact that you haven't had a caution for a little bit.
Down the front stretch, that wraps up lap 36. Aurelio looks to the middle, but backs out of it. Cuthbertson's still leading. Freilich goes up top, and this is just a really solid strategy from Kyle Cuthbertson. Just hold down the bottom, lift a little bit, keep your tires intact, but when do those tires wear out? That's the concern, I think, at this point for the 34 car. When do those tires finally give up?
I think that's a little bit of the fun of this first run, is the absolute unpredictability, and once we have that in mind, we get a little bit of an establishment for the next, what will be about 2/3 of the race, I would imagine, at maximum on this first. We'll have about 2/3 of the race left at maximum at the end of this first green flag run, and that will really mix things up. Can't wait to see it. I do want to provide just a little bit of an update. We do have one car in the lead pack that did pit on that first yellow flag, and it is the guy running out the tail end of the pack, Zach Buchanan, in that 9th spot.
He's not the only one. Corey Rexford has made a pit stop. He pitted
yes,
under that yellow 10 laps before 10 laps after these guys started the race. So Rexford likely has a topped off tank, at least to start this run, some 29 laps ago. So we're getting closer and closer to where these drivers will have to pit. Here's Zach Buchanan, the other driver in the front that has pitted. You go further back in the field, you find Brendan Madonia and Matt Chubb, a couple of guys who pitted, and they're in kind of a tandem behind Elwood, who's on his own, and Buchanan, who is at the tail end of that pack. A little further back, you find Kraus and Patton side by side, and Jake Walsh is down the pit lane on his own. Ray Dolly has bowed out of competition here at the Auto Club Speedway. Cole Freilich leads across the start-finish line. Cuthbertson is in.
And Cuthbertson will bring in the likes of Bat Skipper with him, and this will really open the door here in terms of seeing whether or not the undercut or the overcut is going to be the most effective on these green flag pit cycles. Looks like pretty orderly coming into the pit lane, but of course getting in your box and not overrunning the box is an entirely different story.
Here's Jonathan Kraus as well in the pit lane. It does not bring Trey Patton in, even though those two were side by side. But we are going to bring Cole Freilich down the pit lane, as well as Spencer Ray. Here come the drivers of the 15 and 6, respectively. You can see Freilich up ahead of Spencer Ray here in the second gear and on that pit limiter.
As these guys come down to the pit lane, I'm seeing Matt Skipper not leaving his pit box, so I'd have to imagine potentially a speeding penalty for the driver of the 14. Cuthbertson gets away no problem by the looks of it, but that's really going to be disappointing this early into the run for Matt Skipper. Not sure what the issue is in particular.
That's a pretty good guess, though, as far as potentially a penalty of sorts. He's still in the pit lane. This is a really long stop here for Matt Skipper. Very, very long. I mean, we're talking about 40 extra seconds at least. And now he rolls. So I'd imagine that may have been, in fact, yeah, I think the time checks out. That had to have been a speeding penalty for 40 seconds.
that 40 seconds is an absolutely massive speeding penalty to have on the iRacing.com service. So he definitely was, I would have to imagine, carrying a fair bit of speed coming across that pit commitment line. Cone, rather, here at the Auto Club Speedway. And I want to say it's relatively early at this track in particular.
Andrew Maybach is in the number 11 car. He'll leave his pit stall. Once again, a big thank you goes out to Andrew Maybach, actually, making sure we could get this California Classic aired this evening on Pit Stop TV. So a big shout out goes to the driver of the 11 car. He will sort out, it looks like, around the rest of those guys that he was racing. In fact, he's ahead of Cuthbertson. Here comes Cuthbertson to pass Maybach. So Maybach will sort out right with them. In fact, he almost gets in front of Cuthbertson for the time being, and he will let those two drivers go on by. Trey Patton is now down the pit lane. There's him in the number 66 car. Good to see him working on the pit lane. Good to see that he's still in this race. Reed Sweeney working on the pit lane as well. Here comes Chris Aurelio. And so all the drivers that did not pit earlier, Trey, have all come in.
Yep, that's a pretty fair point. And we were hitting on it a little bit. You know, maybe the drivers that pitted in on that first yellow might have seen something in terms of strategy available. And I think we're right on the cusp of those drivers being able to potentially reduce a pit stop, just looking at the fact that at this point you're probably pitting about every 40 laps. In theory, you'd have a pit around that 40, 80, 120, and with 156 laps, you might be able to save a stop as we see this battle for the lead. Buchanan looking to lead some laps here.
And Rexford concedes pretty quickly. One car coming out of the pit lane. Is that potentially Patton? I see it's white and blue, it looks like. They will come around that. That might be, actually. I think that is Trey Patton in the number 66 car. So problems for Trey Patton. A 5-second long pit stop. 5-second longer pit stop. He does go this lap down for the moment to these drivers of Zach Buchanan and Corey Rexford. But it's good for Buchanan to be up there and leading laps. It's one thing that he hasn't done a whole lot of this season. And he's been very vocal about the frustrations he's had here in 2021. Getting some laps led for that 4 car's got to feel good.
Yeah, if anything, it's providing a lot of strategy flexibility to still be out there and still to be in a position where he's leading, and it's going to provide a lot of momentum over the last 2/3 of this race. So far, I like the call there from Buchanan, Rexford, Madonia, and Chubb.
Yeah, what you said there of flexibility, that goes a very, very long ways. That's really, really important when it comes down to these races that often turn into strategy races. I go back to earlier when I was talking about the fact that Aurelio has won here before in an IndyCar in a fuel mileage race on Pit Stop TV. So Chris Aurelio can certainly do it again, but he is kind of on that backhand strategy, if you will, almost, where he did not pit on that earlier caution flag. Zach Buchanan, Corey Rexford, Brennan Madonia, Matt Chubb, they all did.
These drivers that are staying out are also creating another benefit, which is entirely lapping the rest of the drivers who have come down onto the pit lane. And while those drivers would most likely get that wave around, they have to not come back down onto the pit lane, which could yet again put them in a bit of a disadvantage to even get that wave around. So yeah, there's a lot to like about what these guys are doing at the moment.
So on board with Matt Chubb as he rides in the 4th spot. He is in behind Brendan Madonia in the number 49. Here is the driver of the 49 car, Brendan Madonia, riding in 3rd now, some 4 seconds back of Zach Buchanan, the race leader, as we complete lap 48 of 156. We're just 8 laps or so away from taking that 100 to go mark. Don't go anywhere. More racing coverage on the way from the California Classic.
Sound Art is a product that is a speaker and it's art. We combine it together and we call it Sound Art. What makes it so unique that any picture can be your speaker? Sound Art gives you the high quality sound without the ugly speaker. This isn't a picture with a speaker, the picture is the speaker. Just imagine your wedding picture uploaded onto a canvas and now it's speaking 10,000 tunes. I mean, it's a very cool concept. What we like so much about it that you can take anything that means something very special to you, upload it on the canvas, have it hanging up in your room, your balcony, wherever you want to put it, and now it's a speaker. I mean, how cool is that? It's something that we have that and no one has. No one has this product. It's just a great gift to give anybody. It's just a neat concept. Around here we say, art never sounded so good.
Have you found yourself trying to hide your joy because you're unhappy with your teeth? Your smile is the first feature noticed in an interview, on a date, or in family photos. We want you to be able to shine bright as your best self, and our teeth whitening system is the perfect step toward restoring your confidence. After months of quarantine, we're all interested in how we can become our best self. The team at Permanent Makeup and Cryo is here to help you get the flawless makeup look every day without the extra effort or time. When it comes to your appearance, you deserve the best care that money can buy.
Welcome back as we watch down from one of our blimp cams at Kyle Cuthbertson and Cole Fralick going at it down the front stretch. Cuthbertson is in the lead, or at least will be in the lead this time by as Zach Buchanan exits the pit lane. We showed you in that brief side-by-side that all of those four drivers that pitted earlier on at our earlier yellow did in fact pit just a lap or 2 laps ago. So that includes Rexford, that includes Buchanan, that includes Madonia and Chubb. And Zach Buchanan, going 1 lap further, has sorted himself into the race lead. How about this for the driver of the 4 car, with just 1 point up to Madonia coming into this race?
It's going to pay massive dividends if he's able to execute as a result of that. Overall, big props for Buchanan to go off sequence there. I think it's a pretty bold move, especially considering the fact that, you know, say of the 6 that were coming into tonight, he had one of the better chances of being able to walk away with it. But no, he's just overall in a very prime position, and he has 10 lap pressure tires than the competitors around him. So overall, an A+ job so far.
Now, as far as clinch scenarios for some of these drivers, if you're Brendan Madonia now riding in the 10th position, some 6 seconds behind these guys, you've basically got to finish P3 or better and beat Zach Buchanan. Right now he's 10th as Buchanan rides in second. Now first, Buchanan trying to contend for this race lead on the outside of Cole Fralick, and 10-lap newer tires is going to help that 4 car as well. Maybe not just yet. The tires should be relatively even at the time being, but later on in this run, that is going to help Zach Buchanan. Buchanan basically just has to beat Brendan Madonia. It would certainly benefit him, though, if he wins and finishes ahead of Madonia, which, of course, if he wins, he would. So if he wins, he should get this championship no matter what, but he's winless on the season. This would be big for him.
Yeah, that's all around great points, Andrew. And yeah, we were talking about his frustration so far this season. And yeah, he's been relatively consistent, but to not have that victory in a season where I think we've had about 9 or 10 unique winners this season, it could be incredibly frustrating from the perspective of a race car driver, but there is still one more opportunity, and it's in an absolutely star-studded field, so to get it done too would be incredibly rewarding, and yet again, we're looking 3 wide for the lead. This time, though, it looks like Cuthbertson actually fades back a little bit this time, as now Cole Fralick moves to the race lead, and he's going to have a bit of an advantage down the back.
Aurelio had to back out on the bottom side as Reed Sweeney goes on by 3 cars in 1 corner, or 2 corners in the backstretch, I suppose. He's up to 4th position. Cuthbertson on the inside, I guess, takes it back. Buchanan up top as Elwood and Fralick start to pull away. Reed Sweeney's got just as fair a chance as anybody else to win this championship, albeit with a couple of hills to climb. And boy, there are plenty of mountains to climb back behind the Speedway. You can see some of them off the backstretch now as we come around turn number 2. Sweeney is going to have to get up there and at least climb, I think, if I have a list of some mountains that they can climb. Let's go over to it. I think he's going to have to at least climb Telegraph Peak, sitting at 8,986 feet above sea level, something like that. He's going to have to certainly get up there and really go for it. He's almost got to win this race and have bad luck for others. Side by side for the race lead, though. Lap 58 now of 156. We're inside of 100 to go. Elwood works the bottom side as he finally gets the race lead over Cole Fralick.
Hey, Andrew, very simply, if there's a mathematical chance, there is hope, and that can be so powerful here in a competitive sphere, whether it be any type of competition, sport, motorsport, in this case, electronic motorsport. But yeah, this battle for the lead is really starting to tighten up here. After Fralick pulls a little bit of a gap, we haven't seen too many times so far tonight that the leaders pulled an effective gap, and it might have only lasted a lap or two, but it still shows that it can be done temporarily. looking side by side for the race lead at the moment. Elwood continuing to hold that consistent advantage, though. Yet again, the bottom continues to reign supreme.
Just looking through other scenarios, and yeah, it's basically a must-win situation for Spencer Ray and Reed Sweeney, if you will. Cuthbertson can do this without winning, but realistically, he's got to win if he wants his best chances of taking home this championship. You see Elwood with Cole Freilich battling back to the outside. These two starting to dance up front as here comes Andrew Maybach into the battle for the first time for the race lead, I think, this evening. And that brings other drivers along with Reed Sweeney and Spencer Ray getting back into things. So, again, a couple of drivers in must-win situations in Sweeney and Ray. They get back into battling for the race lead. You can see Cuthbertson, he realizes he's got his match made and has sat back at this point, along with Zach Buchanan, who's starting to sit way back of these guys.
And these drivers realizing they don't have a chance for the lead, they are sacrificing a little bit as a result, but it does provide them a little bit of opportunity to avoid any potential accidents. Of course, they're going to need adequate reaction time on their end, but they'll at least have a little bit of time to react to any said incident as opposed to being, a catalyst in said incident.
You see, there will be lap traffic at some point up ahead. That may be the 14 car of... No, it's not Skipper. Who is that then? Is that Trey Patton potentially? We'll look from the gearbox to the 66 car, and that, yeah, I think that is Trey Patton that's up ahead of these drivers. So Trey Patton has been sorted out of the lead group. And again, he had 5 seconds longer of pit time. That could certainly have been the one that did it for Trey Patton. He was in with a couple of other drivers, just had kind of been spread out further back, and then the pit stop really doing him in. Lap 62, you see everybody trying to get down to the bottom side. Not quite the Ravon Snake we got used to at Indianapolis, Trey, but pretty darn close to it.
Yeah, it seems like drivers aren't having to do quite necessarily as much, and it seems like, as opposed to, say, Indianapolis, the leader has quite a bit of control. Maybe not in terms of being able to effectively, if you will, keep a few cars behind a couple car lengths back, but be able to just contain that consistent control of the lead. We were just talking about Cuthbertson laying off, and it seems like he's starting to bolt up into the top 5 now. I believe he's the second car on the inside line at the time.
Third car on the bottom side as Elwood leads down the back stretch. Freilich now goes to the top side, and Cuthbertson along with him. We have not seen Cuthbertson work the top side yet this afternoon, this evening. He's going to try it now as he gets a run up to Cole Freilich, goes high, makes it 3 wide, and takes the Elwood line.
And now we'll be presented with, as you said, Andrew, a pretty unique circumstance. Seems like Freilich's going to continue to be that guy that rides in the middle line here, but I think it'll be interesting to see if the guy who maintained consistent control of the inside, if he can get it done on the outside. We've really yet to see it be done completely effectively and overtake from the outside line all the way down to the bottom. Elwood continues to hold control as we come to the completion of lap 64.
I said it last night, Trey, for Norco Daytona, and I'll say it again tonight. I love these blimp cameras on these super speedway pack races. I mean, this is just fantastic. Being able to hold a more consistent angle and just watch these guys do what they do at 200 plus miles an hour. In fact, 220 down the backstretch here at Auto Club Speedway. This is just fantastic viewing. This is incredible, being able to watch them just move around, kind of go over the bumps and work the lines.
Oh, without a doubt. And I think that's part of the fun here of this Auto Club Speedway. We have both the aesthetic of this sunset, which is just absolutely beautiful in the sim here, particularly at the Auto Club Speedway. I don't know why, but for whatever reason, it looks fantastic. But yeah, we are being treated to a race. If you're an open wheel fan, you're on one of the ovals in particular that I think that are very well respected and storied, whether it be Indianapolis, Michigan, or Auto Club. It's kinds of tracks that can hold Triple Crown events. It's just all around a lot of fun, especially compared to, say, Michigan, where you have a lot of banking. You get treated to something much more unique here with the wideness that's available. It provides a lot more opportunity for 3 and 4 wide, although we haven't seen too much of the 4 wide yet.
I mean, there's a lot to be happy with here at the Auto Club Speedway. I mean, the blue walls look fantastic. The green grass that they maintain in the infield, and of course the palm trees in the back stretch, and of course the fact that you're so close to downtown LA and the Pacific Ocean. You are darn near on the coast, and being able to have that flatter land that you can look across and see the sunset and see all of the colors, that is special here at the Auto Club Speedway when we get to race into the nighttime like we are this evening. Freilich back up to the top side, right back to the attic as he swaps positions now with Cuthbertson, who's working on Elwood. Elwood leading a lot of laps here.
Yeah, that could be something that definitely comes into play. It's been a little bit since I particularly looked at the points format for IORL, but I do believe there is a bonus point or points available for leading the most laps in the event tonight. So that could definitely come into play for, say, Cuthbertson, who has been leading a lot of laps tonight. Maybe not so much Elwood, although it could make a difference in, say, a spot or two in the championship for him as well.
And here comes Cuthbertson working to the outside of Elwood, at least trying for it. We should see Elwood pull back to the inside, potentially. Yep, there he goes on the inside of Cuthbertson. Just love watching these guys go at it. 32 laps led so far for Kyle in the number 34 car. You mentioned bonus points for these drivers. Well, I'll read you out some of the bonus points. Led one or more laps, that's one. Most positions gained, that's another. Pole position, that's one. That'll go, of course, to Trey Patton. Fastest race lap, that's one. Led the most laps, that's another. And actually, I think that encompasses it. So if we start to look through some of the field, we'll have to do some investigative work, I suppose, to find the fastest lap of the race. I believe the last one I saw come across would have been Matt Skipper, who runs in the... Maybe it was Jake Walsh, who runs in the 10th position. I don't think anyone's gone faster just yet of a 32.281. I think he does own that point for now. That's one less point that these guys can get towards their championship efforts.
The lovely thing, though, is we still have half of the race to go out there and try and get that fastest lap of the night, if need be. And in theory, while we're not going to see a massive amount of track evolution in terms of, say, track temperature, it's still going to get a little bit cooler, and that should provide a little bit more assistance for these race car drivers looking to etch out thousandths of second over the course of a lap.
You mentioned that things are staying cool. We haven't seen anything as far as weather, or I guess you mentioned more so that we won't see much weather variation. That's absolutely correct. It has not changed at all. The wind is varying a little bit, right around 7 miles an hour, but it's staying maintained out of the southwest. So that would be coming across from turn 4 to turn number 2. So if there's going to be any kind of impact, it actually might be getting these cars loose out of the second corner, if there is any kind of impact. But I haven't seen any just yet as we continue to work through this race. Lap 72, and it's all just easy going for now.
Yeah, just in particular, a lot of black and red cars maintaining the pace near the front end of the field right now. In fact, looking at the top 3 or 4 cars. So it'll make it a little bit difficult on our end, but in the least, I think we're all being treated to an absolutely fantastic racing product so far tonight for the IR18, which sometimes can prove to be a little bit difficult in terms of overtaking on the oval circuit. So yeah, we're having a fun time without a doubt.
And they're starting to go back 3 wide up front. Here we go. Freilich, Elwood, and Cuthbertson once again. Cuthbertson up top. He falls in behind Freilich, and Elwood holds steady on the bottom side. So Cuthbertson was the driver who held onto the bottom the entire first run. Now it's Alan Elwood who's holding on to that bottom side, and he was good at Kentucky a couple of weeks back, so I'm not surprised to see him doing this well this evening. Certainly just fantastic stuff. In fact, he wasn't just good at Kentucky, he won at Kentucky 2 weeks back.
Yeah, in particular, he was very consistent and dominant in a race that had a fair amount of chaos. He came away leading a fair amount of laps in that event, and he's proving yet again to be very effective here on the high-speed ovals.
The other thing to keep in mind here, as far as laps led and all that, as far as bonus points, is Zach Buchanan started dead last. He's credited with starting 19th of 19. So if he can work his way up through this field, if he can finish probably top 5, he's almost guaranteed to get that extra point, and that could be the point that matters between he and Madonia. I mean, that would tie them up right there. In fact, those two are in 9th and 10th, 1 position apart, but it looks like 7 seconds apart in those couple of positions. Cole Freilich still bringing the fight to Alan Elwood. Let's go back and check out Brennan Madonia currently as he rides in the 10th position. Here he is, just in front of Matt Chubb and Jonathan Kraus.
It's both a good and bad position to be for the time being. I would imagine these guys near the back end of the field, they're not going to be want to be doing too much racing in particular, because they know any racing, hard racing they do, if you will. It's just going to mean that they're going to continue to consistently fall off a pack that's much bigger than them. So I think all you can do at this point in time is either A, hope for that yellow flag, or B, hope for that lead pack to really dissipate and provide the opportunity for you to slowly make your way back up towards the front over the course of a couple of runs yet.
And we're riding right back up to that point in time where we're going to have pit stops again. So these drivers have to start thinking about that. Now, as far as thinking about that for Brennan Madonia and Zach Buchanan, well, of course, they will go 10 laps longer than the rest of the field. And there's Zach Buchanan. What I like about Buchanan's strategy is he's giving himself all kinds of options. In fact, potentially the most options is, here we go, pit stops right on cue for some of these drivers. Looks like Freilich and Cuthbertson the first to come down the pit lane as they will work down, and you can see it looks like one other car coming in. Is that Spencer Ray? No, that was Elwood. So really our entire top three for the last 20, 30 laps have all come in together.
And while we're only halfway through the running, I think this is going to be an absolutely critical stop, especially considering how effective these guys who have come down the pit lane have been. This is definitely one of the laps that you need to look out for as a race fan tonight. Of course, as you said, have to also look at those alternate strategies, because I think that also creates a really unique element with the likes of both Buchanan and Corey Rexford tonight, as we now have Andrew Maybach, series sponsor tonight for the California Clash, coming down onto the pit lane.
Here's Cole Freilich working back up onto the Speedway after his pit stop. Reed Sweeney, Corey Rexford still on the Speedway. I wonder when Sweeney might come in. It's about time for him to do so. He's got a couple of laps to his credit, a couple of laps further than the rest of these guys who just pitted, but he's still going to come in very, very soon, as he will go for one more, it looks like. Spencer Ray also in that same boat. In fact, Spencer Ray, I think, will come in this next time around. He just hit 39 laps. I don't know that he can go 40, and he should bring Chris Aurelio along with here very, very shortly. Another driver coming in, Jonathan Kraus in the 83 car. Have not talked about him at all this evening, but there is the driver of the K&N 83. Yeah,
Kraus is a driver who's been starting to consistently enter the series. Love to have as many new drivers. Oh yeah, it is absolutely lovely. It's kind of unique to see a K&N livery on an IndyCar. I don't think I've seen that before. But yeah, he's had technical issues, I believe, at least at Kentucky. So it's nice to see him having a consistent run so far tonight, as we continue to open up this pit cycle. And now it's going to be, as you said, Spencer Ray coming down to the pit lane. Still seeing the likes of Aurelio and Reed Sweeney. Corey Rexford staying out on the racetrack.
Here comes Trey Patton in the Ruoff Mortgage, number 66. And I do want to mention, it's cool to see more and more sponsors get into racing. Ruoff Mortgage, obviously not sponsoring Trey Patton, but happens to be on the livery that he's running this evening. What's cool about Ruoff Mortgage is they sponsored the Batcam for NBC at Watkins Glen this past week for the NASCAR Cup Series and the NASCAR Xfinity Series and the NASCAR Camping World Truck Series, I suppose. So I just thought that was pretty cool. And just seeing more and more sponsors of all kinds of varieties, in this case, Ruoff Mortgage, getting into racing is really, really cool and really, really encouraging. And I believe they've been in IndyCar for a little bit longer, so that's where that NBC connection comes from, and on over to NASCAR along with it. So again, just really, really cool to see more sponsors getting into racing at the big level, and we're seeing more and more into the sim racing level as well.
Without a doubt, very simply, motorsport is alive and well, and there's a lot of way for partners to find each other within respective motorsports and really activate, with each other, whether it be a combination of series and sponsors, teams and sponsors, individual drivers and sponsors. There's a lot of opportunities to do so, and yes, motorsport very simply alive and well, even on the simulation side of things, as we're seeing tonight with the IORL series. Absolute brilliant show tonight.
Aurelio stays out one more lap. Here comes Sweeney in the number 9 car. He comes down the pit lane, and Aurelio should come in this next time around. He must have saved fuel because he has just hit lap 40 of this current stint and is joining the only other 4 cars that can go this far in the race in Rexford, Buchanan, Madonia, and Chubb. Madonia and Chubb, though, 7.5, 8 seconds back, and that's a problem for Brennan Madonia if this race goes green. We should see Aurelio pit right here as Buchanan and Rexford, I don't know if they're starting to battle or what, but Rexford went up the racetrack. There goes Aurelio into the pit lane. Rexford went up the racetrack, and Buchanan had to kind of fade along with, and now Buchanan racing to the line doesn't get that lap led.
Considering the fact that these guys are going to have as much of a pack available to them, it would make sense for them to work together in this scenario. And I think we saw that because they were both drivers that had to stretch it out later into the run the last go-around because of the alternate strategy they're on, and they were both able to hang on to that lead pack. And yeah, it seems like so far at least from my perspective, they're working together. They're making the overtakes happen very easily. I mean, we saw an example of Buchanan overtaking on the outside there, for example.
Yeah, I think Rexford kind of let him have it, and there we go. Buchanan leads another lap. Here comes Trey Patton. Kind of the same situation as the last run. Here comes Madonia and Chubb, and Madonia and Chubb, it looks like, are in the next little grouping of drivers. This is actually really helpful to Brennan Madonia and Matt Chubb both. They can both save fuel on this run and try and get that extra lap or so that Buchanan had last time. So if you're Madonia, you've got to be, well, he's in 5th gear. He's got to be in 6th gear. He has got to save everything he can right now.
Yeah, especially at this point in the race, early into the run as well. I think it's sets you up to not have to worry about it as much as you progress later and later into the run. And in theory, it'll be a little bit easier to save fuel as you get a bit later into the run because tires will be a little bit more worn. And he's going to have a massive surge of momentum. Won't quite utilize it though as we head into the entry of turn 1. Going to stay on the bottom behind the likes of now Zach Buchanan ahead of him, I believe.
That is Cuthbertson, Ray,
yes,
and Freilich. That's all those guys that are 1 lap down. But Madonia is some 8 seconds back of Buchanan and Rexford, and that gap is getting larger and larger as laps go on. This is going to help Brendan, though. He's just got to make the most of it. He's not, in my opinion, doing so, but obviously he's got his own strategies to see 3 wide ahead of him. But I feel like if I'm in Brendan's situation right now, I'm going to pop it into 6th gear, maybe even a fuel map or 2 higher, and ride around. And at that point, you might have to go into 5th gear if you're in a higher fuel map, but save a little bit of fuel. At least try and get an extra lap out of this and try and rejoin with Chubb afterwards, or maybe even with the rest of the pack, or who knows what. But I feel like if you're Madonia, you at least want to give yourself that opening, that opportunity, like Buchanan has done. And now Madonia, he's coming in. This is laps earlier than anybody else. This is really early.
It's a little bit confusing.
I don't think it's going to make too much of a difference as the fuel runs go, but it's just good to have extra fuel in the car.
Oh yeah, without a doubt. Yes, absolutely correct there.
And I think that's what he's banking off of, is this doesn't really change when he's got to pit or how many times he's got to pit. So he's kind of running it like an endurance race. He knows he's got to pit X amount of times. Let's go ahead and coming in a little bit earlier. But I feel like even in an endurance race, you want to go ahead and run the fuel until it's dry. On the off chance, say a caution comes out, now he's trapped a lap down as Buchanan, his main championship rival, is a lap ahead, and that's something you cannot allow for if you're Brennan Madonia right now, but it's something that is falling right into the lap of Zach Buchanan. If you're Zach Buchanan, you're praying for a caution here soon. Maybe not so much for, the battle's sake, but maybe later on in the race, after a few more drivers have kind of fallen back, but it would really, really help Zach Buchanan to get a caution soon.
Especially considering the fact that he no longer has the assistance of the New Englander in Corey Rexford from the state of Massachusetts. He'll make his way down to the pit lane. I see him shaking the car left to right. Have to wonder if the fuel might be low, pushing it all the way to the end. Regardless, he does make it into the box, though.
Chubb goes an extra lap, so Chubb is doing what I suggested there for Brennan Madonia. He's in line with all these drivers. We expect he should pit this time through 3 and 4. The longest we've seen anybody go is 40 laps. Will he go an extra? He is going to go for it. Up top to the outside of turn number 4, he will go for one more lap. Here comes Zach Buchanan around turns 1 and 2. I expect he should pit this time unless he indeed has an extra lap like last time, but he's in 5th gear. That doesn't scream fuel saving to me, and he's not shifting up to 6th right there. I dare say he's coming in.
We'll get a little bit more of an indication as he comes through the middle of turns 3 and 4. Eventually, you're going to have to, dissipate your momentum, and down onto the pit lane as you prescribed, Andrew. All around, I'm just very interested to see if Buchanan can get the job done.
Here comes Matt Chubb. It's almost like I've figured this strategy thing out a little bit.
Oh no, without a doubt, Andrew. Hey, to be fair, I think we've both done our fair share of racing on the surface, and that that'll make it a lot easier to be able to understand the kind of strategies race car drivers will do, whether it be real or virtual.
Oh yeah, it helps a ton, and sometimes I've been asked a time or two of how I got into broadcasting in general, or I've heard conversations of people talking about, I just played with NASCAR diecast on my bedroom floor until I got into broadcasting. That's exactly what I did. I'm not saying I've necessarily gone all that far in the broadcasting world just yet, but getting into broadcasting or even just understanding motorsports starts at just watching NASCAR or watching IndyCar on TV, and you pick up so much. And neither of us have ever engineered on a race team before. The closest would be myself with David Levine Racing at Charlotte Motor Speedway in the Lucky Dog Racing League, and even that, really, this year was just telling us not to blow the car up. But we can still pick up so much on these strategies just by iRacing experience or experience from watching races on TV. You learn so much from just being receptive to that kind of information.
Yes, very simply, yeah, watching more of, or rather, let me rephrase it a little bit. Watch as much of as many disciplines as you can, and you'll be a very well-informed motorsports fan. It will make it a lot more fun to be able to fully understand what you're watching as well. Pretty interesting to know is the fact that Buchanan comes out yet again at the lead of the pack. Of course, he faded a little bit the last time by. It'll be interesting to see if he tries to contend for that lead this go around.
This is big to keep giving himself laps led. That's now at 20 for the driver of the 4-car out of the state of Ohio. He works to the inside. Well, I guess holds the inside as Freilich works to his outside and wants to take that spot away. If we check in on the lap count for Cole Freilich, it's sitting at 5. The lap count of Kyle Cuthbertson is the one he's got to worry about, though, at 32 laps led. Elwood might be rivaling that here soon. Elwood, though, Elwood is a lap that he just pitted again. Elwood's just pitted again. This is a very odd strategy for Alan Elwood. Something's gone wrong. 18 laps led. He has got a problem. Oh, look at all that damage. Look at all that damage for Alan Elwood. You can see how far he's having to turn the wheel to the right to not go left.
And now the concern becomes, has he potentially already used a fast repair? We'll get a little bit of a perspective when he comes back down onto the pit lane, but
he's
in the
only
least,
been on the track for 2 laps. He just pitted, I would assume, to repair this, or he came back out and had a problem.
Yep, that sounds like a pretty fair assessment. So yeah, it's just, at this point in time, that slow trot, it can be just ultimately so defeating as a race car driver. So the sooner you can get that done, the better. And then he'll also be able to get that diagnosis a little bit quicker. And we'll get a little bit of context as to what the issue is for the driver of the number 5 Dallara IR18 as we head into the entry of turns 1 and 2.
This is a little ways before whatever issue catches him out. He is way back of the field. He must have had a problem. I'm not able to go back and look at it right now, but something had to have happened in the pit stop cycle for him. You see, he's entirely on his lonesome, and if we look out the rear of the car, you can see that as well. There's nobody anywhere near him. So that really perplexes me as to how he's got a problem at this point with a lot of damage to his car. Suspension damage as well. All suspension damage. He's clearly been in the wall at some point, but where? Right there. Oh, buddy. That's painful. That is painful. I've done that far more times than I would like to admit. That is painful as a race car driver to have done that.
And to be fair, we're over the 250 kilometer mark, and this is where fatigue can really start to fit in. Not fit in. As a race car driver, it can begin to set in rather as a race car driver, and that's where lapses of judgment like that can occasionally occur. Unfortunate for Alan Elwood, especially with only one more chance to go out there and get the job done in the season. We look back forward to the battle for the front. Looks like yet again Buchanan's going to fade to the back end of the lead pack, and yet again Cole Freilich, Kyle Cuthbertson are going to be the legs battling for the lead. With a little bit of new company, Reed Sweetie really hasn't made his presence known up front too much tonight.
We'll continue to watch these guys battle up front as we go side by side once more, much like these guys, side by side, 3 wide. Down the front stretch of turn number 1, it's Cole Freilich on the bottom side, Cuthbertson in the middle, and Sweeney up top. We'll take a side by side and be right back to you here at Pit Stop TV.
After months of quarantine, we're all interested in how we can become our best self. The team at Permanent Makeup and Cryo is here to help you get the flawless makeup look every day without the extra effort or time. When it comes to your appearance, you deserve the best care that money can buy.
Sound Art is a product that is a speaker and it's art. We combine it together and we call it Sound Art. What makes it so unique that any picture can be your speaker? Sound Art gives you the high quality sound without the ugly speaker. This isn't a picture with a speaker, the picture is the speaker. Just imagine your wedding picture, upload it onto a canvas, and now it's speaking 10,000 tunes. I mean, it's a very cool concept. What we like so much about it that you can take anything that means something very special to you, upload it on the canvas, have it hanging up in your room, your balcony, wherever you want to put it, and now it's a speaker. I mean, how cool is that? It's something that we have that and no one has. No one has this product. It's just a great gift to give anybody. It's just a neat concept. Around here we say, art never sounded so good.
Have you found yourself trying to hide your joy because you're unhappy with your teeth? Your smile is the first feature noticed in an interview, on a date, or in family photos. We want you to be able to shine bright as your best self, and our teeth whitening system is the perfect step toward restoring your confidence.
We rejoin you from the virtual Auto Club Speedway. You just saw the leaders continuing to go 3 wide. They will not relent, as I now welcome Eric Brennan into the booth for the first time this evening, and the first time in a while that you and I are working together. Some audio issues have halted you for 104 laps, plus some extra, but you're here and ready to go for the back 50 laps of this race. And Kyle Cuthbertson has, I think, been in control of this one, certainly. Cole Freilich has been right there with him. You see Aurelio now into things. Andrew Maybach in there as well. So many drivers thrusting themselves into the forefront of conversation.
Yeah, well, I've been tussling with the always inopportune Windows updates that kind of threw one of my audio drivers out of whack. I have been staying abreast as to the racing product that you and Trey have been documenting all throughout the night. And I was really looking forward to this one because of the incredibly unique championship scenarios. And one of the things that I think we're going to start to see here, and we are starting to see it unfold already, Zach Buchanan has kind of struggled to stay up there in that front-running pack. And, you know, with Cuthbertson having the run that he has had so far tonight, albeit he has not been able to shake Cole Freilich free of him just yet, but the championship-clinching scenario with Cuthbertson perhaps gaining maximum points if he can continue to lead laps, Buchanan's got to finish, you know, 4th or better at least. So he's got to get a little bit closer to that top 5 and kind of find a way to stay there if he wants an opportunity at another IORL title, and he hasn't been able to prove that just yet, even though he's been cycling his way to the front through pit stops. So I think Cuthbertson's ability to stay up front, Buchanan's ability to have to try to get up towards the top 5, those are the key points as we enter this final, let's call it 3rd or so of this race.
The benefit, though, for Zach Buchanan, I think it's been a lot of choice that he's been leaning back in this pack. You can see now he's put himself in front of guys like Corey Rexford, Reed Sweeney, and, well, actually, just those 2 currently in this 8-car lead pack. The benefit, though, is I'm doing some math. These guys that did not pit on that first caution flag, since we've gone back green flag racing, they are right on the cusp of making it to the end on just one more stop. It's going to be, I think, comfortable but tight regardless. And if we do, for some reason, go into extra distance, I don't think actually we'll have that. I don't think we have green-white checkers here in the IORL, so that will be very interesting to see how it all works out. These guys, they should make it, and they can do a little bit of work on their own end to make sure they make it, but it will be tight, whereas Zach Buchanan doesn't have to worry about it. So if these guys were doing any kind of saving measures to begin with, they've got to further those where Zach Buchanan doesn't have to at this point. He's got himself 10 laps to the good, and, I mean, he is well and good to go.
And perhaps to further exemplify that fact is, you know, we've only got about 8 cars in this lead draft with Buchanan trailing that group and 12 cars on the lead lap. So even though that, you know, Auto Club Speedway is known for this incredibly tight, intense type of style of super speedway racing, you know, these guys have been playing pretty nice. I think everybody's aware of what's at stake for a handful of drivers up in that lead group in that top 8, including Cuthbertson, Ray, as well as Buchanan, and of course Bedonia is a little bit of a ways back there in 9th. I think everyone's kind of aware of the consequences should somebody put a wheel wrong, and they're utilizing the entire width of this 2-mile oval. Seeing another caution may not be in the cards for the duration of this race. So that's a really good point, Andrew. The fact that Buchanan could be playing the fuel number in his favor, knowing that this race has a green flag look to it, that may be the championship winning move. And we're starting to get to the point where that's going to start to matter a little bit here as we close in on the final stages. But this battle for the lead, these two have been pretty much inseparable all night long, that being Cuthbertson and Freilich.
And the problem with this battle for Zach Buchanan is even if Kyle Cuthbertson doesn't win this race, even if Buchanan gets up there, whatever, and finishes in the top 3, it would really help the 4 cars' efforts to not have the 34-car lead. Cuthbertson has led a ton of laps so far this evening. In fact, we can bring it up live. It's at 42. It's gone up 10 laps since the pit stops, and Zach Buchanan is sitting pretty at 20. So this is big if you're Kyle Cuthbertson to have 22, now 23 laps on Zach Buchanan as far as most laps led. That's an extra point that Buchanan could really use. Again, that would put him on level footing with Brennan Madonia even before finishing position.
And that probably explains why Cuthbertson has been so willing to really kind of take it to Freilich, who has nothing to lose here as they go just about 3 wide here for the race lead with that 3rd lane starting to develop. But the one thing that sticks out about Cole Freilich's IORL season is the big goose egg in the win column. He's somebody who has been fast on every style of track he's been able to compete in here, but things are starting to get dicey up towards the front as that battle for the lead is starting to multiply as far as drivers willing to stick a wheel inside or outside, it seems.
I'll say it some more. I love these top-down blimp views. Watching these guys go at it, snake around the speedway, and work each line. You can see really how these drivers work the draft when we get these top-down views. And Cole Freilich, he is being aggressive. This might be the race for him. We've thought that a time or two. He's been very aggressive up front and gone after it multiple times. But this is the longest that it's lasted, and that's something against him. But he's had problems, be it in the NORC Indy 500, the IORL Indy 500, where he started on, not quite on pole, but started up front and led a lot of laps. It's just never quite worked out for Cole. This could be the one.
And now he's going to get to the inside for the first time in a while. Freilich's been forced to go the long way around. This time, Cuthbertson gives up the bottom. Freilich's going to hug that inside lane here and go to the lead. And now he's going to elect to come to the pit lane. I believe he's going to be the 2nd car of this lead group. It looks as though that Maybach came to the pit lane 1 lap ago, but Freilich is going to be the first of one of these leaders trying to get down here for service, and he is not alone. He's got some company as well.
Yeah, Maybach had pitted, so Maybach, oh man, it's going to be close. That's 40 laps and change. That means Freilich is even closer. These guys, they've got 41 to go this next time by, let alone 40 after that. They are very close. In fact, I think short. If Cuthbertson pits here, oh my goodness, this is working out in all kinds of favor for Zach Buchanan. Are these guys even doing the fuel math?
Yeah, and this is where I think Buchanan's going to start to grin a little bit from year to year and just kind of hope that things stay green. That's what he's going to need to happen. If it doesn't, it'll turn into an all-out brawl for the final 40-plus laps of this race because everyone will pretty much be on even keel. Let's not forget about Spencer Ray. He's another one of those championship contenders. Needs a little bit more things to go his way than that of a Madonia, Buchanan, or Cuthbertson. But he obviously has put himself up in the mix here as well. We'll see how long he could stay out as this top 5 will forego the pit lane for at least another lap. So it looks like they are going to get within that 40-lap window to the finish, and they'll continue to navigate their way down towards 1 and 2 in a pretty tightly packed wad. These 5 cars still able to utilize a bit of a draft here, while the drivers who stopped thus far are starting to navigate their way around this racetrack by themselves. If they've got to stretch the margin and make it to the finish, they're not going to have a lot of drafting help to do it until the rest of these cars stop.
The longest we've seen anybody go so far has been 41 laps, and that's with a lot of saving. The fact that Cuthbertson came in after 37 really concerns me for his efforts. I mean, again, I got to ask, are these guys even looking at the fuel? I mean, all Cuthbertson had to do was go 1 or 2 laps longer, split the difference, and he'd be in good shape. But hitting that early, I'm not confident that he's going to win this race or even be in contention if this thing goes green. He's really banking on a caution at this point.
And I guess that's the risk versus reward element of trying to lead all those laps and obtain that additional bonus point that could matter so much in the championship, because he certainly was burning off the most fuel. And Cole Freilich, who was up there pretty much side by side for that battle for the lead throughout most of the last stint, he too is another one who paid the price on the fuel number by being ahead of this pack of cars, while the rest of the field, who was running pretty much third on back, remains out in this lead 5-car draft. Now, Ray is leading ahead of Sweeney, who also was one of the outside shot, or I should say long shot championship contenders. They're going to go wheel to wheel for the lead in turn 3, but now the question is, when they come, is it even going to matter at this point if they keep stretching it here, as Ray is going to be the next to dive down for service. That'll leave the lead 4 cars out that have yet to stop. Also, Matt Chubb and Madonia have not come to the pit lane, as well as Kraus. So top 8 cars have yet to stop for service, and what could be the final stop to the end if things should stay green.
Here comes Jonathan Kraus, and that, again, beautiful, number 83. I love that paint scheme. The way the red and orange follow, I love that for some reason. That is a fantastic-looking car for Jonathan Kraus. He comes into the pit lane, though, along with Spencer Ray in the number 6. There he is, taking service in pit stall, number 6. How fitting for him. Chris Aurelio now leads. Aurelio's done it on fuel mileage before, but I just don't know that it's going to work out this evening for him. I don't know. He has at least gone to where he's good, but I haven't seen him be one of the driving forces in this race, even though he leads now on this longer run. And he is 6-7 laps shorter than Corey Rexford, and actually almost 10 laps, 11 laps maybe shorter than Zach Buchanan. So Zach Buchanan, again, in the catbird seat. We were talking about Cole Freilich, maybe this being his night. He pitted early. I'm not sure anymore. But I think this might be a Zach Buchanan kind of night if this race goes green. He's got the most fuel. He's been able to consistently go a lap further than even Corey Rexford, and he's been sitting back, saving his stuff. We still don't know how good he is.
And I'll tip my cap to you, Andrew, because as I was watching while also kind of frantically trying to sort things out on my end from a technical perspective, I was looking at this race and kind of watching where Buchanan was running and thinking, oh no, that's not the kind of momentum that he needs if he wants to grab himself another title this season. And, well, I should say in his IORL career, but now it's kind of seeing firsthand how this has truly been by design. I think it must speak volumes to the level of poise that Buchanan has shown, not just in this race, but this season. Somebody who has not really always pressed the issue or put himself or that car in precarious positions en route to what could be a championship effort. And I think that speaks volumes about the type of driver that Buchanan is. I would be tempted on a track of this nature to aggressively assert myself out towards the top of the field as one of the front runners will dive down to the pit lane. That was Sweeney, who has decided to pull off here for what could be his final stop. But for Buchanan, and looking at definitive moments that could seal up a championship as he vies for a 3-wide fight for the lead now, I think his willingness to hold back throughout most of this race, that could, in fact, be the one deciding element to how his season ends tonight.
Yeah, we're coming down to 30 laps to go. You're in just a couple more, and he's going to pit on the far side of 30 to go, unless he splits the difference here and decides to pit a little bit earlier. But I was talking about earlier, as you see Aurelio finally pit. Oh, as a blink out there for Zach Buchanan. That's a problem for the 4 car, but he stays in the race behind Corey Rexford, the driver that we would usually expect to have a blink. But I think Buchanan, again, is just, he's in the best case scenario right now. And Rexford lets him go on by, so now Buchanan will have to bear the brunt of that air resistance. But even if he loses time here, he's got 5.3 seconds back to Brendan Madonia. He is in such a great situation, and now Madonia is on that same strategy, albeit 4 laps sooner that he'll have to pit. But this is just brilliant so far for Zach Buchanan. And looking back over the course of all IORL champions, you've got to go back to 2014, Season 3, where Zach Buchanan last won a championship. It's been since 2014. That's before they were on iRacing, Eric. That's what they consider the, I guess, pre-modern era. It's been that long for Zach Buchanan. Even if this does go winless for the season for him, he wants to get this championship so bad.
And as the premier broadcast partner for the series, I will tip my cap as well to Zach Buchanan and Spencer Ray and everybody who's involved in this series, because each and every week, especially as we got closer to this championship deciding finale tonight at Auto Club Speedway, you know, Buchanan and company have been crunching the championship numbers in the moments following
Caution.
the checker flag. And there's the yellow that's going to pick this up here. This is going to kill. Oh, no. And that is a couple of the front runners here tonight. That's Aurelio, who is on his lid. And
Brendan Madonia.
And Madonia. Wow.
Best case scenario, if he is going to have a caution right now for Zach Buchanan, is to have Brendan Madonia in it.
My, oh my, what a heartbreaker here for Madonia, who I am not sure if he has been forced or had been forced to use a faster pair at this point in the night. If he's got one in the bank, he's definitely going to have to pull the trigger now. The driver came into the night the points leader, battling with another competitor who has been a force all night long in the famed Menards colors. Let's go back and see what happened. After the pit stops, it looks like that everyone who did stop, who's in that lead draft, all kind of running together. And this is Madonia, who's out front. There goes Matt Chubb looking down to the inside. Freilich just behind.
Oh. That is so painful. Cole Freilich goes to the inside, and that little bit of netcode sends Brennan Madonia into a spin and Chris Aurelio on his top. Oh my goodness.
Nothing egregious by either driver, especially that of Freilich, who has been aware of the constant championship battle literally all around him throughout the night. And that's just one of the unfortunate circumstances that we find ourselves in this sim racing environment from time to time. I mean, you saw from the viewpoint from the front that they were pretty far apart, at least as far as the construction of the virtual vehicles. And even here, I mean, that's just incredibly unfortunate. Nowhere for Aurelio to go. That's a huge hit, very reminiscent to Michaela Lotion's crash here in 2014 with Charlie Kimball after spearing off the side of the spinning car and ending up upside down and putting at least a halt to what could have been a hunt for a win for a driver who was very impressive tonight.
So throw everything as, oh, Corey Rexford's just spun in the pit lane. Throw everything out the window. All of it. Everything that's happened in the last 129 laps. All of it out the window, aside from the fact that several of our contenders are caught one lap down. That's the benefit for Zach Buchanan. Everything else, though, out the window. So everything that was shaping up for Zach Buchanan, he's now going to have to set it all back up and properly race for this championship. It's not going to work out as far as strategy. He is the race leader under this caution flag. But, man, this has got to sting for Zach.
Yeah, for Buchanan, as far as playing the strategy to the end, this is obviously not good. But the fact that the car that was involved in a major accident was the one and only driver ahead of him in the points coming into tonight's race, albeit by a single marker, that's got to, give Buchanan a little bit of comfort, especially considering the fact that Madonia still sits here on the pit lane. And it looks as though that as each lap ticks off, the odds of him being able to walk out of this track tonight with a championship. And I think also something that's very important for both Madonia and Buchanan, I don't know if they want to end their season without a trip to victory lane. I mean, the title, of course, is the elusive and most premier objective when you start a season of this nature. But, now that Buchanan's starting to see some of his competition fall by the wayside, the championship obviously was objective number one, but trying to go for what could be a win here tonight, that may slowly start to creep up the list of order priorities as well, especially as some of these top contenders are starting to fall out of this thing.
For this to work for Buchanan at this point, he's just got to finish top three. If the win comes along with it, I think he'd certainly be happy. I don't think that he's going to go into that mode of gotta win. But I've been wrong before. Many times before have I been wrong. But I think at this point, two things are going to happen for Zach Buchanan. One of two things, I should say. Either he is going to sit back and he'll be very calculated about this and he'll weigh risk over reward, or he will want to go get that win regardless of the championship and value that race win on the season a little higher. Which one he does, I don't know. Normally, I especially in this race, I would think Buchanan has been very calculated, very patient, and will stay that way. But I've also known Buchanan to get a little bit annoyed sometimes, a bit frustrated, and go after it. So I just don't know for Zach Buchanan right now. It looks like Madonia is back onto the speedway. In fact, he is. Here comes the 49 car, albeit 2 laps down. Now, if he's allowed to get that lap back, I don't know. Or one of those 2 laps back, I don't know if that's going to happen under this caution flag. I think he's going to have to wait on more. The fact that he was the caution, I think, will prevent him from getting any laps back. The other interesting thing here is, this is properly, if there was going to be a caution, this is best case scenario right now for Zach Buchanan. He is coming in to top off on fuel, so here comes the driver of the 4 car. Not that he needs to. It's only 26 laps to the end. But I've just noticed that Kyle Cuthbertson is trapped 1 lap down. Now, if Matt Schubb is ahead, yes, Matt Schubb is going to hold Kyle Cuthbertson 1 lap down. Cuthbertson isn't going to race for this race lead just yet. It's going to take another caution.
And perhaps that is the other saving grace of this yellow coming with, just about 26, 25 or so to go here in this event is it does give some of these guys who either had to pit to repair damage, like that of a Madonia or like that of an Aurelio, and also some of the competitors who were trapped a lap down, like that of a Cuthbertson. it does kind of increase the margin for another yellow. But, I mean, this was the picture coming into tonight's finale. Madonia by a single marker over Buchanan, Rick Ray Vaughn, who we saw enter the session but not partake in the event, at least up to the point that I started tuning in. And Cuthbertson, remember, he would have probably been higher up in the standings had he been able to make the last race that we had for the IORL campaign at Kentucky Speedway, but he was traveling for a racing venture. In fact, was out here in North Carolina with the kart chasing folks at GoPro Motorplex. So what could have been for Cuthbertson trying to overcome that bit of a scheduling snafu there? Spencer Ray and Reed Sweeney, the other two that are eligible for this title. And Matt Chubb, the Indy 500 winner this year, just trying to end his season on a high note, and he finds himself out front.
Yeah, out front under caution. I think that may change. Zach Buchanan has come down the pit lane and has been in the pit lane for an extended period of time. What that usually means, as the head steward here, is that he's reviewing the incident. So there must have been an issue with Brennan Madonia taking issue to Cole Freilic's move. I think Cole Freilich would have been a lap down to Brennan Madonia at the time of caution. That would be the only argument I see, is to maybe he could have been more careful, laid back, didn't have to make that move. But otherwise, I don't know. There's really a fighting chance to get a penalty for Cole Freilich. If you're Brennan Madonia, I don't know how this is going to sort out. Obviously, the admins will have different views, I'm sure, but we'll see how it works out. Buchanan has just lost a lap, but considering we're still under caution flag, this is to review, and there he goes. So he will go back out there. Given that he was reviewing the situation, he should, and I dare say will, get his lap back.
We did see this play out at Kentucky last week, and it caught me by surprise. I did not, in fact, put all the pieces together until Trey Shuttlesworth jumped in and kind of tipped us off as to what exactly was going on there. But that is, in fact, one of the roles and responsibilities that Buchanan has as far as his position with the league. So he was, in fact, forced to come down and kind of review that scenario. We'll see him assume his position back up in the running order here. And we'll see how the lineup shakes out before we get back underway. And under green for what's going to be another Auto Club Speedway shootout. These style of races, I mean, whenever you think of IndyCar and Auto Club, I think the number one event that pops up was the last one that was held here in 2015. Now, obviously, the track's going to undergo some pretty major changes over the next 2 years, and we may never see an event of that status in real life. But thanks to the folks at iRacing, I'm sure this track will remain in a legacy capacity, and you're about to see why it is one of the most fun tracks to compete on in this Dallara IR18 vehicle, because you have options. You could work the draft. You have to have a good handling car. You have to know where to position yourself, and you also have to know where to time your move when you get to the checkered flag. And that may not be a race-winning move only. It may be a championship-winning move when all said and done here. And the more laps we click off, Andrew, the tighter that vice grip starts to get on the intensity of this field and the objectives that everyone has set forth as far as what they want to accomplish tonight.
Yeah, this is the same kind of problem you end up with in endurance racing as well, when you have extended caution periods for cleanup, maybe in a difficult part of the racetrack sometimes, where cautions keep winding on and just tightening things down. And you can see Buchanan has caught the field, so he's back up here with these guys and will reassume his race lead. This is big for the 4-car, but this is a lot like those situations, and especially if you're Brennan Madonia right now, 2 laps down. You need 2 cautions to get back in this race. I mean, that is painful. And the big thing is, usually, even if you aren't in front of the race leader at the time of the restart, or once the caution sorts out and pit stop sort out, even if you aren't in front of the race leader, as long as you stay out, you usually are given that wave around. But Kyle Cuthbertson, as we documented, was short on fuel. He could not stay out. Along with that, Madonia, of course, being trapped. The only other drivers that I see that can contend for this championship are Spencer Ray and Reed Sweeney, and they're in 6th and 7th on this restart. Obviously, that doesn't mean a whole lot, but we go back to our clinching scenarios. They need Buchanan to finish 12th or worse. I don't know if that's going to happen.
Yeah, the opportunity for that to happen, I mean, pretty much if we get to 2 to go here and things stay as they are, then that's going to be out the window at that point. If nobody should gain any additional laps like that of a Madonia or Aurelio and so on and so forth. And also, I'm surprised that, from some of the incidents we've seen so far tonight, we're starting to see some guys get up into the mix there, like a Corey Rexford. Now, granted, he was in that lead pack, but here's a look at the standings yet again, Andrew. And I'll tell you, the fact that the scenarios were this tight, that the folks at the IORL with Spencer Ray and Buchanan and company had to draw out literally about 5 or 6 different championship clinching scenarios. That's why.
And for Madonia, all he had to do was come in and beat Zach Buchanan. And at this point, I mean, everything has gone wrong for him. He got sorted out into a pack that was way further back in the field, 10 seconds or so. Then he gets caught up in an incident. Now he's 2 laps down. I just don't know if this night could get too much worse, at least to the completion of lap 134 than it already has for the driver of the 49. We'll see if it turns around. We need 2 cautions, and with the way these guys have raced, with just 20 laps to go, who knows? We may see one. Cole Freilich is back on the lead lap. Andrew Maybach back on the lead lap. Spencer Ray, Reed Sweeney, guys that have been aggressive. So it's not out of question just yet. But we will work back around and take, it looks like, 22 to go. This time by the start-finish line. And restart this race. Zach Buchanan, the race leader, already off and away. And we're back green flag racing in the California Classic. So a longer caution period that time for our second caution of the evening. And you can see the field very strung out through this first half, 3/4 lap of competition. I expect things to actually stay a bit more along these lines, Eric. For the first time all night, we might not see a whole lot of pack racing just yet. We've got a lot of lap-down cars.
And I agree with you there on that part, but we are going to see some racing for the lead. Matt Chubb had a monster run, ducked to the outside on Buchanan, and
there's one yellow.
Is out again. So who was out in front at the time of that yellow, and who was involved? That was Cole Freilich, who was involved in the crash. Major left front suspension damage, and I do not believe he was the only car involved, as Jake Walsh is rolling away slowly, and the bad luck season for Cole Freilich continues here. And I'm not quite sure if he's a little unhappy or if he's trying to catch up to the tail end of the pack, but for Freilich, who was up towards the front of the pack just prior to the last caution, really not having the night that he wanted. And Madonia's got damage again. This is going to be big here because I don't think he's got a fast repair left here. This one may pretty much put him out altogether.
This will do it for Brennan Madonia. Given the 2 cars involved, you can only wonder if Madonia maybe is getting payback to Cole Freilich right here. Let's take a replay and find out for ourselves exactly what happens off of this restart. And I don't know that it's payback, but these 2 are involved. Oh, there's contact there. Let's go even further back here. Let's watch more of this. Let's watch all the way from the green flag. This is really interesting to me. These 2 drivers have got to be annoyed with one another. For what reason? From Cole Freilich's perspective, I have no clue. I understand it from Brennan Madonia's perspective.
Yeah, and the thing about Madonia here in this circumstance, see Freilich tries to get a good launch here, elects not to pull down to the inside because they didn't get to the start-finish line just yet. And we're on board with Freilich here. That's Madonia just up ahead, but I understand if you're Madonia, you're a little bit frustrated by what happened in turn 1, the last caution, but even though you're 2 laps down, you're not necessarily out of it. You've got the car rolling and in one piece. Anything could happen with Buchanan. And here comes Freilich now looking inside. This may be where we saw that first brush of these 2 coming together. There's slight contact there. That was side to side. They got away with it. And that put Freilich back out in front. But I think we're going to see Madonia close up here as they come out of 4.
So certainly. Oh, that's intentional. Yep. I mean, that's clear as day. Certainly, I understand the frustration there for Brennan Madonia, but you just can't do that. You still have a chance, while it may be slim, a chance to race for a championship. You come into this race with a 1-point lead. You simply cannot take out another competitor intentionally, especially in open-wheel racing. That's the kind of stuff you get parked, if not for the rest of the race, for weeks for. Now, granted, it's the last race of the season. We saw some brush-ups and summer shootout last night at Charlotte of the same kind of tenure, where they got mad at one another, and it's the last race of the season. But it doesn't excuse it. You can't do this.
You got to keep your composure. And I mean, I understand that this is, a form of sim racing and whatnot, but I mean, that is just absolutely unacceptable. And especially considering the fact that, like you just said, Andrew, he wasn't out of it yet. And we just saw Matt Chubb pull up and alongside Zach Buchanan. That was going to bottleneck the front 2 up, and that was going to allow everyone to close up on him. Who's to say that Zach Buchanan doesn't get swept up in something not of his own doing here in the latter stages? Doesn't get the car repaired in time, ends up 2 laps down. I mean, Madonia still had a shot here with about 20 laps to go at the time of this intentional takeout on Freilich, and that's just not cool.
It's not. And the contact initially to bring out, oh my goodness, Jake Walsh.
Wow.
Did he spin there? I mean, he does, but I think he keeps the car clean. I want to watch that now. But even the initial contact, the initial yellow, the initial problem with these two drivers was entirely happenstance. It was netcode. And if you don't know what netcode is in the sim, let me just tell you, it gets a lot worse in these open-wheel cars at 220 miles an hour. It's the prediction code of the iRacing.com sim, and it's trying to predict with ones and zeros where these cars might go. And that's based on steering angle, that's based on all kinds of driver inputs, obviously lateral forces, it's based on internet connections. There's so much that goes into that. It's not hard to see how it can go wrong sometimes, and it went wrong there, and it goes wrong more often than not. Again, in these cars at 220 miles an hour, pulling high lateral Gs into corners. That's just what happens. It's an imperfection of the sim, sure, but not everything can be perfect. And as a driver, you've got to understand sometimes when that kind of thing happens and not lose your cool about it. I understand getting frustrated. That's entirely okay, excusable. But it's inexcusable to go out and take another driver out over netcode.
Yeah, and and not to pile on to the circumstances, because obviously, Brendan Madonia is someone who came in here tonight as the points leader, thinking that he had at the very least a 1-6, maybe 1-5 shot of walking out of here with a title. Netcode is truly one of those things where some days you're the bug, some days you're the windshield. And unfortunately, in this case, he was the bug tonight. I understand the frustration wanting to boil over, but the reality is that Madonia had 13 starts prior to tonight in order to give himself enough of a buffer to have a mulligan to burn tonight, and the season didn't unfold that way. So I understand being incredibly frustrated given the circumstances this evening, but that was an incident where I would not put any blame on Cole Freilich at all in turn one, nor Madonia. It was just, as you said, kind of happenstance, and to allow it to fester and boil over to the nature it did at the start-finish line, I just don't understand the thought process there, especially considering the fact that there was still 20 laps to go in this race. There's plenty of time, and he had a car that was back together because he was able to use the fast repair. He lost the time because of the tow back, and now he's got to sit on the pit lane, lose more laps to fix it again. I just don't get it.
And I dare say a penalty will certainly follow. I mean, you go back to the Indy 500 this year, Eric, and I mean, we saw Rick Ray Vaughn get tossed out of the race win, not necessarily even because of anything egregious. There was just contact coming to the win, and because of it, he lost the win. I mean, you can't have contact in open-wheel cars because we see what happens as a result. They crash, and they crash rather largely. As you see, Buchanan had to review that incident and will rejoin the field. I can tell you Madonia has either been disqualified or disconnected or both. But yeah, certainly a penalty has to come his way, and it will probably see that reflected in points as well. But contact is just frowned upon in open-wheel racing for good reason. You go 230 miles an hour off into a corner, you make contact, and you're going to have a problem.
Yeah, it doesn't matter what form of motorsports or in any set of circumstance. I mean, if you to just bright turn on somebody, I mean, it's over-exaggerated, of course, by the type of car and the type of... And honestly, they're both lucky that they got away with it without more damage.
Without involving others.
Exactly. I don't know, Andrew, man. The longer I talk about it, the more upset I get about it. Because it's just... I just don't get... I almost wish that some of these guys do elect to have an engineer to lean on when they can, or a spotter to lean on when they can, or they have a consortium of people who are in their camp on nights like tonight. And I just wish that somebody could have gotten to Madonia prior to that happening and just kind of given him a big picture reminder, because we don't know how these laps are going to play out. But this goes back to the point we were making on the last caution. The more contenders that we cross off our possibilities of a champion tonight, I think the more enticed Buchanan is going to be able to be. Maybe not even entice is the word, but the more that he's going to be aware that he's got a little bit more house money to play with as far as going for a victory here tonight. And that's good news for all of us. We know that he's good on this style of racing, and I'm excited to try to see him back up towards the front, because just as I was about to say before that yellow came out, the theme of the night has been Buchanan's elected to fall back to save fuel. We don't really know what he could do as far as trying to hold on to the lead. And I think we're about to have a glimpse of that, even though Chubb nipped him at the time of the caution. If Buchanan could get back up there towards that front-running spot, I'm curious what he can do with it, because we haven't seen evidence of that so far tonight.
Well, here's the other big storyline along with this. We're going to come around to 15 laps to go in a moment, and Kyle Cuthbertson is getting his lap back. He is back on the lead lap now as a result of that caution flag. So this is big for Kyle Cuthbertson. He's suddenly right back in it, gifted this chance to race for a championship, let's be honest, by Brendan Madonia in, I think, the least championship quality move we've seen all season. This is huge for Kyle Cuthbertson. He's back in it. I mean, there's no other way to look at it. He is back in this race, back in this championship fight. And Zach Buchanan, who was in a great situation before, all he had to do was kind of ride around. Now he has got to race again. And we got 15 laps to settle it. We'll see how these guys do coming around to the green flag. It is in the hands of Matt Chubb, at least for now. The green flag flies. We're back racing in the California Classic. The whole field spreading out through turns 1 and 2. Buchanan now leads. Here's Cuthbertson on board with him as he rides now in the 8th position. Cole Freilich is ahead, then Spencer Ray, then Andrew Maibach, and then everybody else up in the top 5 starting to go at it. Buchanan loses the lead in 3 and 4. Chubb leads out of turn 4.
And the more that they continue this shuffle at the front of the pack, the more it's going to allow 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, all the way back to Cuthbertson in 7th, and Freilich, who is battling for that position right now, to close up on them for this race for the lead in what's going to be a maddening dash to the checkered flag, with Rexford trying to flirt with the top side. Sweeney, a championship contender, trying to get up there as well. He's trying to make the move for what would be a fight for 4th as Chubb goes back to the inside for the lead in 3.
Now Buchanan tucks back inside of the Indianapolis 500 winner and last season's champion, Matt Chubb. He wrapped this thing up with races to go last time around. Now he's 49 points out of it coming into this evening and is just racing for another win. Andrew Maibach goes fastest, so you can still go faster and get that bonus point. Maibach gets it there. Rexford up top. Maibach going to shoot the gap in between Rexford and Sweeney. Just barely threads the needle. He's through to 3rd.
Oh, thank goodness math is not my strong suit, and it's not up to me to try to decide this championship as quick as some of the admins will have to do tonight. But this racing at the front of the pack is thrilling. So far, though, Cuthbertson has not been able to move up higher than 7th, while Buchanan and Chubb continue to swap the lead. Again at the start-finish line, Buchanan by a front wing may have had the edge there at the line. And now Rexford's going to dart low and try to propel Buchanan forward, while Chubb uses the momentum on the high side. As they come off of turn 2, Buchanan cements the lead by about 3 car lengths, but it's going to be a big run coming from Chubb in 2nd.
Look at the speed for Kyle Cuthbertson, somewhere in the 230s down into turn number 3. That's big for Kyle in the 34 car. He's in this pack now, but he's got to sort his way through. He's got to find his way through all of these gaps, get up there and race and pass Zach Buchanan, and he needs Buchanan to drop to what's the position again? At least 4th. If Buchanan stays on the podium, he's got the championship.
And that's exactly what Buchanan has been doing. We have not seen him drop any further below 2nd since the restart a handful of laps ago. And he's been able to work that inside-outside move pretty much lap after lap after lap. I'm not really sure if Buchanan cares if he has to time this move to the checkered flag. I know the race win would be a good exclamation point or cherry on top to the season, but he needs to stay up here in this front 2 or 3, as you said, Andrew. But there are more players getting into the mix here as we're double wide for 2 rows deep for the lead. Actually, that's from 1st to 4th in your frame right now, and all of them have a chance at a win here.
And we're back up to 11 cars in the lead lap, all the way down through Jonathan Kraus and Matt Skipper as Chubb looks back low at the 4 car. Maibach now in 3rd, didn't find anything he liked, and holds back of Zach Buchanan for now. Rexford tussling around with Sweeney in the 4th and 5th positions, and then you've got Spencer Ray in the 6th, and here comes Buchanan right back to the bottom side. If he had timed that one for the race win, he would have got it. 9 laps to go.
Saw Maibach there with a huge run in 3rd spot. Thought about going to the outside of Matt Chubb there for 2nd. Thought better of it. And a lot of these drivers are well aware of the variables as far as the championship fight in this lead pack, with the likes of Buchanan, Sweeney, Cuthbertson, all with so much on the line here while everybody's vying for a season-ending victory. Chubb goes back to the point. Spencer Ray starting to make some noise on the bottom. He washes up wide off 4. That's Cuthbertson darting to the inside on him, while Buchanan picks up the low side again to try to take the lead back in turn 1.
Maibach taking a look. He's sponsoring this race, not for any kind of gain, just to have fun with it. It's the California Classic, and he's a California native, and he wants to win it. Andy Maibach up in the top 3. He's in 2nd spot now. Looking to the inside. He's got the race lead down to turn 3.
Things are starting to get intense at the front of the pack. 3 wide in the middle is Buchanan, the championship contender. Up top is Sweeney, who rides the wall off the corner. How about nearly 4 wide at the start-finish line for the race lead here?
Let's call it 4 wide because they had stacked themselves wide enough to do it. Maybach down low, Buchanan shooting the gap, and it's Sweeney up top of the snap-on number 9. I don't know how this is going to work out, but we've got 6.5 laps to do it.
We asked the question, could Buchanan stay up towards the front? This has been his biggest test of the night, and so far, he's doing amazing.
Big crash! Cuthbertson in it! Cuthbertson's night and championship has just gone down in shambles.
I believe perhaps one of the other cars involved was out of Corey Rexford. He was in that lead pack, and yes, there is significant damage to the front nose cone and right front suspension of Rexford's car. They were all up in that lead pack. We were looking out from the backside of Zach Buchanan, who yet again watches carnage unfold out of the rearview mirror, and it takes out one of the championship hopefuls. And so far, they are dropping like flies tonight, Andrew. And Cuthbertson, even after coming back from being a lap down, is another victim of circumstance here, it seems.
Oh, and Andrew Maybach just goes up the racetrack. Even with the net code, he would have hit that 34 car. That's just a mistake. I mean, there's nothing egregious about it. It's not like he was intending to go up there and completely destroy the 34 car. It's just a mistake. I mean, mistakes happen. Mistakes are made.
Yeah, they have been trying to set up a bit of a different entry there to turn 3, trying to arc it out a little bit to make that bottom line work and pull up even closer to Spencer Ray, who's the car that he was chasing at the time of this move. And oh man, I don't know there. It looked like I'm with you. Obviously, it did not appear to be intentional at all. That sudden lane change at the end of the back straightaway there with Cuthbertson clearly in the vantage point perhaps of the driver's view. Just a little bit of a mismatch there as far as timing between those drivers, and Corey Rexford was the one who had nowhere to go, and we're on board with him here. Everything looks good off the corner, trying to hold off Cole Freilich on the bottom. He sees the lead pack up ahead, and unfortunately, he's also going to see the side pod of Cuthbertson's car here momentarily.
Oh my gosh, I mean, just nowhere to go for the driver out of Massachusetts. I mean, you're right, it's a really odd, and this is one where I think I would call it the scenario, that the crash, a little bit silly from Maybach's perspective. I mean, there's no other way to really look at that. He just kind of goes up the racetrack, and it's a lot like William Avery earlier on in this race, where he just seemingly goes up. I mean, I don't know. Certainly nothing Maybach was trying to do intentionally. Like, I'm struggling for words here. I'm getting a lot of tongue-tied here, but certainly not intentional. That's the big thing. But it has taken out Kyle Cuthbertson and forced him to tow. And at this point, the only 2 competitors for the championship that are not named Zach Buchanan are Spencer Ray and Reed Sweeney. But they need Zach Buchanan to finish 12th or worse, and that's just not going to happen.
Yeah, no, you know, it's unfortunate to see some of the I think when all of us were envisioning and doing our prep work for it tonight, because even though Trey Shuttlesworth was able to fill in for me for about 2/3 of this race, there was a lot of anticipation and excitement leading up to this because of the amazing scenarios that were hopefully going to unfold. I thought we were going to see a shootout on the last lap with all the championship contenders in one big knot, not only trying to grab the title, but the race win as well. And it's unfortunate to see a number of them fall by the wayside, some of which in the most unique circumstances, we'll call it, like point leader Brendan Madonia. Others by virtue of just mistakes by the competition, like what we just saw there with Cuthbertson. And I will say that, you know, the more that this race unfolds, and now that we're going to have about 3 laps to go to settle it here, as Cuthbertson was able to use his fast repair, but I'm not sure if he's going to have an opportunity, perhaps, with only about 3 laps to go on this restart to get back up there. But you know, I'm starting to see just even more how evident Zach Buchanan has thus far played this race perfectly. We're a half lap away from the restart. He doesn't even have to be perfect for the final 3 laps. He just has to be there. He has to be up towards the front no matter what the competition does. He's going to have Spencer Ray right up behind, but he would need a lot of things to go his way. And right now, I don't think any of them are even mathematically possible should Ray even win this race. So Buchanan appears to truly be in the catbird seat here for this shootout here at Auto Club.
All Zach Buchanan has to do is take the white flag. That's it. Yeah, I mean, that is quite simply it. Kyle Cuthbertson is 1 lap down. He's only got 3 laps for a caution flag to come out, and then to get his lap back and not have been involved in the crash to begin with. And at that point, even then, we're not going into extra distance here. I mean, this is Zach Buchanan's championship. Green flag will fly. I don't think there's any way anybody can upset the 4 car. Green flag is back out. 3 laps to go from California. Let's get it sorted out. Down the backstretch, 2.5 now to go. Zach Buchanan, everything is shaping up. All he's got to do now is put the whipped cream and the cherry on top of it, and that caps off what has been an epic season for the 4 car. I say epic, an unlucky season most of the time, but what a night this has been.
Still some storylines to write, though, as far as who wins this race. As Spencer Ray ducks to the outside. Cole Freilich in 3rd, starting to close up quickly after coming back from the crash at Madonia. It is Ray trying to get his 3rd win of the season. Buchanan trying to cap off a championship effort if he can make it around to the white flag with perhaps his 1st win of the year, while Freilich is trying to do the same. Got a crash off turn 2. Looks like we're going to stay green. Ray leads him to 3.
Kraus is that spinner back in the background. Out of turn number 4, Spencer Ray leads. He wants to take a 3rd win. He should have been right here in this championship battle. Missed a couple of races. Couldn't quite do it. The Tucson Sound Art white flag is out at the Auto Club Speedway.
The championship may not be enough for Zach Buchanan. He's trying to work the high line here on Ray. He may want to duck back in line of the draft, but he's not going to do it. He'll remain up top. Ray, Buchanan side by side for the final lap of the IORL season, with Buchanan trying to win a title.
Zach Buchanan on the outside, Spencer Ray down low. It's the final jaunt down to the start-finish line. Buchanan gets a run side-by-side, drag race to the line. It's going to be Ray across, but Zach Buchanan is your 2021 IORL champion.
He played the race perfectly. Even though he did not get to victory lane this season, his ability to ride at the tail end of the lead pack for most of this race, cycle his way up to the lead when it matters, and he comes up just inches short of a victory, but he ends up the lone survivor in this 6-driver championship fight. And the fireworks are going off at the Virtual Auto Club Speedway in celebration for not only your winner in Spencer Ray, but Zach Buchanan. Andrew, we know how much this meant to him and all that he does for this series. And as you mentioned just a short while earlier, first one he's able to celebrate on the iRacing platform. What a feeling for this driver.
And to be on podium feels pretty good for him as well at this point. It's not the race win that he would have liked, certainly, but it's still putting himself on the top in my eyes. I mean, he's putting himself up there. At that point, it's down to luck a lot of times and how you play a couple of things right and how you maybe don't. But this is almost as good as a win for Zach Buchanan. It is darn near almost as good as a win. There you see Spencer Ray going to do some burnouts, but it's all Zach Buchanan in the 4-car getting to celebrate a season well done.
Incredible job. And I'll tell you, Zach is someone who, when we wrap up our broadcast, he'll stick around. He'll kind of just shoot the breeze with us folks. And not just as the broadcast partner of IORL, but as race fans and race people. And he's someone who's very passionate. I know that it's going to bug him that he wasn't able to get to victory lane, especially when we go back and watch that last lap. He was so close to being able to time that to perfection. But to come out on top with this group, this schedule, and this field of cars with as many championship title hopefuls that we had coming into tonight's race, Zach's got a lot to be proud of, and he earned it all the way through this season.
That he did. And it doesn't always come down to winning races. He's made all of them. And drivers can look at that how they want to, but making all of the races is the first step to any kind of championship. You just got to be there for all of them, and that's what it's come down to for Zach Buchanan. It's been a wild season in 2021. He's been there for all of them. I mean, he runs this show, so he ought to be there, and he puts together the most points at the end of the season. That's how you win a championship.
Yeah, absolutely, and he does so on top of helping orchestrate and organize some things for the series, along with Spencer Ray, the driver he drag raced to the checkered flag with. And, you mentioned his administrative duties. And for me, I can't fathom, as someone who has spent a good bit of time on the sim, albeit it was a few years ago, I can't fathom what it's like to be at all these different venues and all these different tracks and get into a rhythm as far as being a racer, and then having to come down, jump out of the virtual cockpit, review something that happened on track, and then get back in and go right back to battle. And that's something that Zach has had to do many, many times this season. And I'll tell you, it all ended up paying off, and I think tonight is truly the highlight of the season. And it looks like he's going to burn down the house on all ends of this racetrack in celebration.
Well, you want to know what it's like? Let's go ahead and ask him. Let's bring him in and talk to him now. Zach Buchanan, it's not the race win, certainly, but it's a championship. The first championship since 2013 for you, and I can only imagine how this must feel.
Dude, this is insane. To come into this race with 4 guys that have been the class of the field all season, to come out on top of all those guys, to me, that's really special. I think this is probably the best field of title contenders, probably the closest championship that we've ever had. For it to come down to one race, that's insane. Was definitely wanted to get the win there. That would have been really cool to put the icing on the cake. But Spencer ran a great race, and I hate the things that happened to Kyle and Brendan there. Kyle was really strong all race. And, Brennan's been strong all season. So if they were on the lead lap in contention at the end, it would have totally been a different story. But this one's really special. Definitely got to give a huge thank you to my teammates, Reed Sweeney, Matt Chubb, Evan Stommer. Thank you to just all the drivers that come out every week. This is just a lot of fun. And you guys for covering all the action for us.
And Eric Brennan was wondering what it must be like, in your position specifically, to have to sort through everything, literally everything. And let's add a little bit to the plate and make this even sweeter, I guess. You've got school going on. You race at go-kart. You race at Gateway a lot and plenty of other racetracks. You've got a lot going on, but you manage this league. You get on here, you make every single race. When some guys, they go off and they go for vacation, or they just sometimes don't want to, and you're here every single time, every single week. You put in all the work, and now you're the champion. That's got to feel pretty darn good, and it's got to taste pretty good.
It does, yeah. Especially some of the talent that's come through the league over the years. It's a weird feeling to win in your own league, because there's often that kind of controversy of, well, he won in his own league. It's not really that big of a deal. But in all reality, it is special just because the level of competition that we have here. I mean, I think we had, 9 different winners this season in 16 races. It was just a special year. And, I trust me, I really wanted to get that win. It's been a while since I've won a race, but I guess you don't need to win a race to win the title.
You certainly don't have to, but, it helps. But in this case, it all works out for you. Let's talk about this race specifically. Myself, Eric, and Trey, we're all going on and on about how you were calculating this one out. You were certainly sitting back. You saved fuel a lot, it seemed like. You kept yourself in the back of the lead pack. You consistently went longer than everybody else, and that's after you pitted on that first caution flag to get yourself 10 laps to the good as it is. So certainly, this one, it wasn't just like you fell backwards into it. You put yourself in position.
Yeah, actually, I kind of had a plan coming into the race, Matt Chubb and I, because, with the hard charger award, the most positions gained, that's a bonus point on the line. And with qualifying being such a toss-up, really, because it's flat out, I didn't really want to take that gamble. Why take a chance on not getting that pole point when you can start at the back and just methodically work your way forward, avoid the attrition and get that one extra point, in the bank. And from there, just kind of was like, well, I'm back here. I'm just trying to survive and might as well save fuel. And Chubb and I rode around in map 5 most of the race. Now, it was kind of important to pick through some of the traffic, some of the back markers early on, because actually there was a second pack with Chubb and Brennan, and they were on the same strategy as us, but it was just we got separated, and really put me ahead in terms of from a strategy standpoint, because we were with the main pack. I could lead laps, get bonus points in the bank, but also 10, 15 laps better than everybody else on fuel. just riding around in map 5 pretty much the whole race until I got in clean air. Then I went back to map 1. But yeah, I mean, it's just surviving really. And we got lucky with the way the yellows fell. Obviously got really lucky with Kyle having issues, with Brennan having issues. But, you know, in the end, it all worked out. Sometimes it is your day, and sometimes it isn't. Like, you know, there's a few races earlier this year that it just wasn't our day. I felt like we had a good chance at winning a few races this year, and it didn't work out. But, you know, obviously, you know, sometimes you lose the battle, but you win the war.
If you go back through the results for you this season, certainly some races where things just didn't go right. You go back through the entire season, and it's a lot of 6th, 7th, and there's a 13th in there for the Indy 500. Texas, it was 10th, and just a couple of other finishes that weren't too great, and the luck just wasn't there. But otherwise, the results are very, very consistent. I think this is what it takes to be a champion. I'll turn things over, though, to Eric Brennan. And Eric, what do you have for our champion of the 2021 season of the International Online Racing League?
Well, Zach, I know we've talked many a times this season, whether it be after a good run at a race or you just kind of sticking around and talking to us. You're very passionate about this series. Andrew touched on the fact that you have a level of involvement that stems from top to bottom. But obviously the most fun element of this, whether it be on the sim side or some of your real-world racing stuff, is getting behind the seat of this virtual cockpit and going out there with the class of drivers you guys have been able to assemble. You've touched on the fact that this season, whether it be schedule, cast of talent, has been truly amazing. But for you, take me, if you can, out of the position of the series champion, but as a league operator and owner of this series, overall, I mean, to know that you were the guy who came out on top of this element that you tried to emulate as close to the real-world form of open wheel racing that we have here in the States with IndyCar, I mean, could this series get any better, or is this truly the key to perfection?
I think there's always rooms to improve upon, especially car counts this year. You know, we were a huge beneficiary. I hate to say a beneficiary as if it was a good thing, but, you know, we definitely benefited from the COVID-19 shutdown, as unfortunate as it is. You know, we saw some of our best car counts last year. And, you know, we kind of did things the same way we did last year, thinking, okay, you know, some of the same guys would come back around. But the reality is, you know, when you're racing mostly in the summer months, now with things for the most part back open again, it's hard to maintain that level of a field that we had last year. And so I think that's one thing we can improve upon. There's a few tracks I think we'll interchange. And honestly, just for us to work together as a cohesive group, whether it's my admins, Spencer Ray and Tim Trowbridge, they do a fantastic job. Feedback from the drivers, whether it be testing setups on Monday nights or just feedback in general on rules, procedures, tracks, anything. Or, you know, working with you guys. You know, you guys have always been very good about providing us feedback on things, and it's definitely good to have everybody involved. And I think as long as we keep working together, I mean, there's no reason we can't continue to grow. And I think one thing that we're really looking at from a league standpoint is throwing in there a summer break, just so that way we can give all these guys the opportunity to enjoy the summer months, not have to worry about sitting in here on a computer when it's hot. You can be outside enjoying life, and hopefully just that'll draw in some more guys on a weekly basis.
Well, before I turn you back over to Andrew, I just want to say one more thing. First off, thank you for the opportunity. I'm a huge open wheel racing enthusiast. When Andrew told me that this was on our slate for this season, I was super pumped. But I guess my last question is going to be, you're going to have some time to celebrate this thing, or are you going to start already planning season 13? What's your agenda here after winning this championship?
Well, from a driver's standpoint, I've got a race at Gateway this weekend. So literally tomorrow night, going to load up the trailer and get ready to go. So don't really have time to celebrate that. But from an admin standpoint, I think we'll enjoy this probably for a week or so. And I mean, we've already started planning for next year. We'll probably get a couple of league meetings together, get the guys together, and just hash out some details, some things that maybe we need to change, maybe we need to not change, and just kind of discuss it all. But yeah, I think really to be best prepared for next season is just to start now, start while we can.
Well, I'll let you get a head start. I'll get ready for Gateway. I'll turn you back over to Andrew Carnal in the fourth. Best of luck this weekend, Zach, and hopefully we'll talk to you again soon. But congratulations.
Thanks, Eric. Appreciate it, man.
I think all bases are covered there by by myself earlier and Eric Brennan now. 38 laps led, though, not quite the win. Otherwise, a great night for you, Zach. There's not a whole lot I can add at this point, so I guess I'll go ahead and ask you, who else do you want to thank? Who else do you want to shout out? You've done a pretty good job of it so far, but if there's maybe anybody that you missed, maybe coming to mind now, by all means, this is your time.
Yeah, I think I pretty much covered everything. I just probably got to give a quick shout out to my Gateway Kartplex family. If you guys are out there watching, appreciate you. See you this weekend. Should be a great time. And I think I already covered everything. And thanks to you guys. Again, you guys do a great job making the league look great, and it's a lot of fun.
So Zach Buchanan doesn't quite get a win this season, but wins the championship. And I think that's the most important of all wins he possibly could have gotten this season. Congratulations to you, buddy. We'll talk to you more, I'm sure, through the offseason. This is big, and this is really, really cool to see you get it. For the first time since Season 3 in 2014, Zach Buchanan is an IORL champion. That always trips me up, but an IORL champion once again. Buddy, live it up.
Appreciate it.
Zach Buchanan wraps up the evening, again, with a championship. There's no better way, I think, other than maybe finishing 11/100ths of a second further forward. Yeah, that might have done it, but still a fantastic night. We'll take a step aside. We'll be right back to you momentarily with more post-race coverage from the California Classic at the Auto Club Speedway.
After months of quarantine, we're all interested in how we can become our best self. The team at Permanent Makeup and Cryo is here to help you get the flawless makeup look every day without the extra effort or time. When it comes to your appearance, you deserve the best care that money can buy.
Sound Art introduces an entirely new way to listen to music in your home. By combining the best of two products, a revolutionary high-fidelity, low-profile Bluetooth wireless speaker with beautiful artwork. Select from a library of artwork or upload your own photos to personalize your experience. Sound Art ushers in an era of invisible, beautiful, and amazing sound throughout your home and redefines your entire entertainment system. The need to reclaim your floor space and rid your home of unsightly speaker boxes that need to be bolted to the wall is now a thing of the past. Our canvas is printed on high-quality permalite by Breathing Color. And select from our gallery or upload your own. Standard sizes include 16 by 20 and 18 by 24 canvas wrapped. Custom sizing is available, as well as surround sound options.
Have you found yourself trying to hide your joy because you're unhappy with your teeth? Your smile is the first feature noticed in an interview, on a date, or in family photos. We want you to be able to shine bright as your best self, and our teeth whitening system is the perfect step toward restoring your confidence.
Welcome back to the Virtual Auto Club Speedway, the California Classic going the way of Spencer Ray. Championship, though, going the way of Zach Buchanan. We've spoken with our new champion. Let's go ahead and now speak with Spencer Ray, the race winner here at the Auto Club Speedway. I'll turn things over to Eric Brennan.
Thank you so much, Andrew Cardinale. And we'll welcome now to the broadcast booth Spencer Ray, who picked up, as Andrew mentioned, his third win of the season. And Spencer, I gotta wonder, bud, is there some mixed feelings here? We kind of alluded to the fact that you and Zach do so much for this league. You came into tonight with a bit of an outside shot at the championship. You needed a lot of things to go your way. They almost did. I know you got a win to be happy about, but are there mixed emotions here, knowing that the title was just a little bit too far out of reach?
No, not really. I missed too many races to really get myself into that mood. And then, obviously, I just killed myself last week out of it, so just happy to win the race and not have a bad ending to the season, at least.
Well, it was certainly a perfect ending to the season, grabbing, as we said, your third win. And you've been able to win on all sorts of disciplines. And we've seen you in action not only in the open wheel cars, but on stock car sides as well here on Pit Stop TV. But this series is something that you're incredibly passionate about. Why? Where does your love for this style of racing come from? And does that parlay into your success winning, as we said, 3 of the 16 scheduled races on the campaign.
I just love the IndyCar. It's like 85% of my official races are in the IndyCar. It's the first car I bought when I got iRacing.
Well, you'll end your season with a tie with Rick Ravon for the most wins in a year that saw about 9 different winners. When you see this series be as competitive as it's been, as evident by tonight's finale, does that mean that you and Zach and everybody involved, that everything's clicking on all cylinders, this series is heading in the direction it's meant to go? And are you satisfied with how Season 12 went as a whole, not from a driver's seat, but from an admin perspective?
Yeah, it went pretty smoothly. Obviously, we'd like to have more people show up every week, but we have good racing. Some incidents here or there tonight, especially, but for the most part, yeah, everybody's pretty well behaved.
Now we'll go back to the last lap of this event here, and you're leading at the white flag, and obviously Zach has just as much on the line as you did, although he may have been in a bit of a better position. Were you cognizant of that in that final corner, like coming off a turn 4 side by side with him, knowing that, if something did happen, it may completely change the championship scenario, if at all possible? Or were you just kind of focused forward and trying to just beat whoever it would have been to your outside to the checkered flag?
My goal was just to win the race. Once Kyle crashed, there was no chance for anybody to beat Zach because of how the points were. He would have had to have finished outside of the points for me to have any shot at it, and that was not possible at the end of the race. So I was just going for the win.
Well, you found yourself in prime position, not only coming out of 4 on the last lap, but at the start-finish line in one of our closest finishes of the season. And Spencer, I just got to give you the floor, man. I mean, I know there's a lot of people who make this series possible, who make your sim racing ventures possible. Who do you have to thank for this win here tonight to cap off the season for IORL?
Got to thank everybody that showed up tonight. Got to thank you guys for broadcasting it for us, and yeah, a lot of fun.
Well, we appreciate the opportunity, Spencer. I'm glad we had a chance to catch up with you as the season winds down. You're going to go into the offseason as the most recent winner. We'll be looking forward to seeing what's in store for Season 13. But we told this to Zach Buchanan. We'll tell it to you as well. You've got something to celebrate, and you can brag about this one for a while. Go enjoy it, bud. Congratulations on ending your year with a victory here at Auto Club tonight.
Yeah, second year in a row, I get to brag for longer than everybody else. So, feels good.
Well deserved, buddy. Spencer Ray, we'll be talking to you soon, my friend. Take care.
Yeah, you guys too.
And again, that is Spencer Ray, who was able to grab the win here tonight. I'm going to toss it back over to Andrew Cardinale IV, who is standing by with another one of our front runners as they came to the checkered flag tonight.
And that's going to be Cole Freilich finishing 3rd place this evening in the Slothy Racing 15 car. And Slothy Racing happened to be the presenting partner of the 2021 IORL Indianapolis 500. It was very similar to that race for a while there, Cole. You were up in the front, but it lasted for a lot longer. Nothing got changed in the middle of the race like happened to Indianapolis, and you contended all night long, all the way down to the very end, finishing 3rd this evening. How'd you do it?
Chaos, and I just had the car set up how I wanted it, just like Indy. Everybody was kind of running their own line. I found something that worked pretty early there, and we felt pretty good. I don't know. I think if I would have had 2 more laps, I could have easily got both of them. But yeah, that was just. I told Spencer if I had actually gotten to those 2, I was going to pull the same move I pulled on him and Kyle early in the race, because I knew I could pull that off, and probably would have been the race-winning move. But I mean, I'll take it for what it is. Rounding out the season with a podium is not too bad.
We saw a lot of moves up front from you and Kyle and Alan and so many more. It was an exciting one there for a while. Was there any concern about fuel? I know you pitted a little bit earlier than 40 laps to go, and it wasn't looking too great. I'd imagine that caution was your saving grace. And what happened what happened in that caution as well? Because of course you were, right there in it with Brendan Madonia.
Well, yeah. I don't even know what that was all about, but yeah, I was about 5 laps short on fuel, and then he just decided to wipe me out, so that pretty much fixed all the fuel concern. And shout out to Jake Walsh, he did a great job missing me. I didn't see how close it actually was till afterwards, so appreciate Jake for avoiding my car and keeping us both somewhat in the race. But yeah, I just sucked being back there.
Well, buddy, when it's all said and done, 11 laps led after starting 11th and finishing 3rd. That's got to feel pretty good nonetheless. A season well done, a season finishing in the top 10 in points. It's all, I think, pretty well successful. How do you wrap it up, and who do you have to thank?
I will definitely want to shout out Kyle putting Racing Nation TV on the engine cover of this car. I got to shout out myself for Slothy Racing sponsorship. Go check that out on Twitch and YouTube. Don't use the YouTube as much as I use Twitch, but definitely go check out the Twitch sometime. Thanks to CFM Esports and Andrew Brodsky. He fields half of our cars. Well, I say half of our cars, half the field, because we got a lot of CFM cars and a lot of Racing Nation TV cars, and just shout out to him for always fielding those cars. And yeah, thanks to Zach for putting on the league. Congrats to him for winning a well-deserved championship. And yeah, I think we'll have fun next season.
Absolutely. It's Cole Freilich wrapping things up in 3rd place this evening from the Auto Club Speedway. We'll say goodnight to him and then say hello to the driver finishing 4th place this evening who had a shot for the championship, Eric, but it just didn't quite work out.
Indeed, and of course we're talking about that of Reed Sweeney, 2-time winner on the season, somebody who we always pencil in to watch when it comes to some of the road races on the slate, but tonight on the 2-mile oval at Auto Club, Reed was in the mix pretty much all night long. Reed, obviously coming into the evening, you needed a lot of things to go your way to walk out of here with the IORL Championship. From the drop of the green flag, what was your agenda? Was it try to get win number 3 at all costs, or was it simply to keep an eye on your championship combatants and see if maybe you could pull off an upset once the night ended?
Yeah, that's pretty much exactly what it was. I just wanted to kind of hang back and try to win the race. I knew it was kind of a long shot to come away with the championship win. But yeah, we had a great race too. Of course, would have liked to be on the podium for the last race of the season, but it's great to be. I think we're 3rd in the championship standings. But yeah, and congrats to Zach for winning the championship. Really good race.
We saw 2 different styles of driving tonight. We saw a lot of guys who were kind of riding at the back of the lead draft, conserving fuel. We saw guys who were pretty much, running flat out all throughout, trying to lead as many laps as possible. For you kind of seem to be in the thick of things for the most part. Were you trying to do one thing or the other? Did your plan of attack change as the night unfolded? What was Reed Sweeney's game plan as far as whether it be fuel consumption or lap leading as this race got underway?
Well, I did want to, kind of lay back a little bit because I knew it was going to be pretty dicey up in the front. But we tried to get up there a few times, and I think we were fast enough to be up there where we just couldn't stick around for too long, and we'd get kind of freight trained and put back in the back. But we had enough fuel to make it to the end on that last stop, and unfortunately those yellows came out, and then there were some guys that weren't going to make it potentially, but we were going to be ones to make it there at the end, and race just there didn't really play into our favor. And coming to the last restart, Cole got a great jump and went by us, and I tried to get back into 3rd, but he put up a great fight, so we ended up with 4th, which is fine for me.
Now, this was your 9th start of the 16 races on the season. As we mentioned earlier, Zach Buchanan was able to make all 16 races throughout the year. To come home potentially and unofficially 3rd in the standings with 2 wins and all the success that you've had along with those 2 victories, you also had incredible top 5s and top 10s, racked up a bunch of bonus points. In the rearview mirror, or I should say 1 win, 2 poles. From the rearview mirror, was this season a success for you, albeit that you weren't able to compete in all the events, or do you kind of wish you had a lot more on the table when you wrap this up?
No, I think it was a good one. It was my first full year in the IndyCar series in the IORL, and I think I did a pretty decent job. Of course, I would like to be further up in the standings, but we missed a couple of races, and that's just kind of what it came down to. So, I mean, yeah, third place unofficially I'm pretty happy with. So I think we'll walk away with that with some good momentum.
Well, we're happy we had a chance to catch up with you. You won pole at the Indy Road Course race. That was the 5th round of the season. You also got a pole at Mid-Ohio. Your lone win of the year came at Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin, smack dab in the middle. And even tonight on the Oval, you were up there in the mix and contending for a victory. Reed, before we let you go, we just want to offer up the opportunity. Who makes this possible for you to run as well as you have, not just tonight, but all season long?
Well, of course, my mom and dad for, you know, helping me get the racing chair and all the equipment and stuff. And first of all, just getting me into racing. You know, I've spent a pretty good amount in karts and some decent time on the sim as well. So I think that's what kind of put it all together. And yeah, and I'd just like to thank you guys as well for making these broadcasts really great. And then congrats to Zach and Spencer. Those two guys kind of run the show in the race section. And yeah, congrats to Zach for the championship.
Aubrey, we wouldn't be able to do what we do if it wasn't for drivers like you. Having competitors who care so much about the sport and who are as talented as you are, that's what makes our job so much fun. Congratulations on the great season, a 4th place finish tonight, and we look forward to seeing you back when the IORL elects to kick off season 13, buddy.
Thank you very much. Thanks, guys.
And again, that is Reed Sweeney, who was one of our 6 unofficial championship contenders coming into the night. And as Andrew mentioned, 1 spot shy of the podium, but a great job for that young driver. And look for him at a karting track near you. Andrew, I knew the name sounded familiar. I've seen Reed Sweeney at kart tracks before, and what a stand-up young man that he is. And obviously he's proven to be fast in so many sense, but nobody was as fast tonight as Spencer Ray, and nobody was as solid throughout the season as that of Zach Buchanan. What a year and what a race.
Well, while I have the chance, and while we're hot on the topic of Reed Sweeney, I do want to apologize to Reed Sweeney. I feel like I might have put him in a bit of a less than advisable situation this evening for the championship by my mistake at Mid-Ohio a few races back. I feel like he has a very, very bright future ahead of him here in the IORL and certainly in racing in general. The kid's got a lot of talent, and that is a proper kid as well, so I can only imagine how much he will continue to grow over time as just himself and as a racer. Certainly the sky is the limit for Reed Sweeney. It really wasn't like climbing too much of a mountain peak this evening for Zach Buchanan, was it? Even though the San Gabriel Mountains are very, very close by, it wasn't so much like climbing Mount San Antonio, more so like Mount Baldy at just under 4,200 feet. This is how things check out for Spencer Ray. Zach Buchanan, you see right there, I mean, it's almost a layup at this point for him. He just sat back, saved fuel throughout the evening, and kept himself in contention. He just didn't crash. That was the biggest thing for him this evening, Eric. Finishes second, takes home the championship ahead of guys like Cole Freilich, Reed Sweeney, Trey Patton. How about that for a top 5? Matt Chubb checks in at 6th, Matt Skipper in 7th, Corey Rexford 8th, Andrew Maybach in 9th, and Jonathan Kraus, a lap down, finishes 10th.
Now we move on to the second page of our results, and we see one of the drivers who we talk about paint schemes we love. Chris Aurelio was running the throwback blue Menards colors that Greg Gray won the IRL championship with back in the late 90s, early 2000s. I remember Jacques Lazier finished second in a photo finish here in 2002 running those colors. It looked like it was going to go well for Aurelio, but he was caught up in a crash, was 1 lap down. Kyle Cuthbertson, who I believe led the most laps tonight, was doing everything he needed to do in order to be in contention for a title, also swept up in a late wreck. Jake Walsh, you heard the shout out from Cole Freilich, probably one of the moves of the season to avoid major catastrophe, but he was involved in an incident late, ended up in 13th. Brendan Madonia came into the night with the championship point lead, obviously involved in the most controversial incident of the night with the retaliatory move on Cole Freilich. Ends the night 21 laps down in 14th. Alan Elwood, who crashed after coming off the pit lane after leading a number of laps in 15th. Ray Dawley 16th. William Avery 17th. 18th was that of Garrett Pick. And Rick Ray Vaughn, who ends the season with 3 wins in the win column, however, did not contest for a championship opportunity tonight. Unofficially rounds out your 19-car field.
And with tonight's unofficial, for now, race results, Spencer Ray vaults himself up into the 2nd position in the standings, beating out Brendan Madonia by just 1 point. So a 1-point margin to begin the night for Brendan Madonia becomes a 1-point margin the other way to end the night, but in 3rd place as opposed to the championship. Rick Ray Vaughn sorts out into 4th in the points, Reed Sweeney into 5th, Kyle Cuthbertson in 6th, Matt Chubb holds 7th, Corey Rexford moves up, but not quite to Cole Freilich, who finishes 8th, Rexford finishes 9th in the standings, and Matt Walters, missing this evening, ends up 10th in the standings. The rest of the results, the rest of the point standings can be found later on social media here on Pit Stop TV, on our various platforms. We'll get that out to you as soon as we reasonably can. fan. But what a race this evening, Eric. And let's first say it would not be possible without our partners here at Pit Stop TV. Of course, beginning with Tucson Sound Art, but not ending there. Tucson Sound Art makes a lot happen for us, but it's not just those guys down in the state of Arizona making these beautiful sound art devices. You can use promo code PitStopTV, however, to get 10% off of your order, but it also includes people like those at Raise Pays Setups, the official road setup provider of Pit Stop TV, and Permanent Makeup in Maine. Go to permanentmakeupinmaine.com or Permanent Makeup and Cryo in Maine on Facebook for more information about them. Instagram as well works out, as well as Whiplash Media, the official graphic and broadcast camera provider, there we go, of Pit Stop TV, and BAM Racing Videos by a race fan for the racing community. Without them, we would not have been here for this wild ending to a very wild season.
Of course, all those partners make everything that we do here on the platform possible. And I also have to give an additional shout out to my wife. She saw how frustrated I was with my computer logging me out of this thing for the first 105 laps. So thanks to you, Andrew, as well as Trey Shuttlesworth for jumping in and holding down the fort and keeping the seat warm, because I was pumped for this thing. When you first approached me and told me that the IORL wanted us to do a number of their races this season, I love open wheel racing. I spent a lot of time in the Formula 4 and Formula Regional Americas Championship paddock last season, hoping to do something similar in 2022. And, this is the type of series that I love iRacing to be able to bring to us. And as we mentioned, the cast of drivers, the competitive nature of the series. Our very own Trey Shuttlesworth was one of the 9 winners that they had this season. I mean, it's absolutely incredible how strong the fields were. Obviously, there are some improvements and tweaks they want to make going forward, but for us to be along for the ride for a night like this, where mathematically 6 drivers had a chance at the championship, and the driver who comes out on top ends up settling for second in the race by 11 thousandths of a second, what more could you ask for? We had drama, we had contact, we had conflict, we have a winner, a champion, some happy drivers, some unhappy drivers, and unfortunately, we got a short while until we're able to line up and do this again with the IORL when they kick off season 13, but I'll be here waiting.
It's going to be quite a while until we get that season rolling. Hopefully, though, it comes sooner than later. I do also want to give a shout out quickly to our very own Trey Patton, who moves up from 27th or so in the point standing, so just 3 points outside of the top 20 in just 2 starts all season long. The Indy 500 and this evening at Auto Club, almost 20th in the standings. That's pretty remarkable for Trey Patton. He put together a lot of points, a couple of great runs. It's also worth noting Zach Buchanan. He was just the, label of consistency all season long. Only 1 race, and that was the Indianapolis 500 with 33 drivers as opposed to some of the other races with closer to 20. With 33 drivers, that was the only race he did not finish in the top 10. So it makes sense now as to why Zach Buchanan is our champion here in the International Online Racing League. I do want to take a look here at all of our broadcasts coming up later this week. Well, we have one later this week, more so the beginning of next week here, Eric. Tomorrow night, it's the North American Racing League GT3 series from the Nürburgring. Not quite the Nordschleife, but the GP course is on tap tomorrow for 50 minutes of action, followed up by Tuesday's action at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Hopefully you're back for that one there, buddy, at the Brickyard, hopefully. Anyways, then we have Myrtle Beach Speedway for the Cars Esports Tour, so a lot going on. It's race number 4 for NARL. It's the beginning of the chase for Nork at Indianapolis, and it's the second race of the season for the Cars Esports Tour on Pit Stop TV for the first time.
Yeah, and we have a state-of-the-art crew that is ready to roll tomorrow night for the North American Racing League. Those events have been incredible. I know that JP Costa's been doing a great job holding it down there, but I'm very excited, not to be biased, but I'm very excited for the chase for the championship to kick off for North. You guys did an amazing job with Legacy Daytona last night. I was shocked to see Zoltan Herczeg, somebody who is obviously always very fast, but Super Speedway racing is not something he's always so hyped up about. But he was able to come through with a victory last night. Didn't need it in order to have a championship opportunity, but we set the field there. And of all places to start a championship effort, I'm not sure I could think of a track tougher than that of Indy. And you mentioned the Cars Esports Tour. I was able to watch the first round of competition there as well, and I was blown away by the number of participants, the amount of energy that was pumped into that broadcast.
You weren't the only one.
And oh yeah, it was out of this world.
We had maybe 30 signups at lunchtime. I actually took a trip down to my local Bojangles and had just sent the email out to all the drivers that we won't be capping cars because we're around 30, and that was our initial cutoff anyways. And in the next couple of hours, after I had already told these guys we weren't capping cars, we got over 10 more registrations, and we've gotten even more since that race. So if you are one of the Cars Esports drivers, maybe waiting on a new info packet, that'll head out tomorrow. But it was incredible how many more drivers signed up last week, and we know more are on the way. So it's incredible, the response that has been brought out so far for the Cars Esports Tour, hitting goals and then some. And yes, it was, let's be honest, a caution fest at North Wilkesboro, but Myrtle Beach, a little more room to race, rather, and we're capping cars. We'll tell you that much. More is on the way about that, but we're capping cars at a much lower level than 34 last week. I'm excited. Hopefully, you know what? Hopefully you're there next week, Eric. We'll see how that one works out at Myrtle Beach Speedway. In fact, it will be a year and 3 days since Trey Shuttlesworth and I were at the final race at Myrtle Beach Speedway last year in 2020. That drive back was one I don't want to remember, but being there was something that I will never forget.
Yeah, that truly, to me, that is one of the most beautiful things about this sim. We mentioned it during the broadcast about the Auto Club Speedway, how this track is pretty much going to be reconfigured and a lot of the land repurposed and resold. We'll still have this version alive and well in the sim as we do at Myrtle Beach. I mean, they've already redeveloped a lot of that land as far as I'm aware of, and to see the Cars Esports Tour. And if you go back and watch some of the old style of races that happened there, whether it be Pro Cup or even NASCAR now Xfinity Series events, it was a track that was tough on tires, but it promotes side-by-side of competitive racing, and that's going to be a fun one next Wednesday as well. So, I mean, we're chock full of nuts here. We're chock full of racing events at Pit Stop TV. We have a lot of guys who are doing a lot of different things, and I'm really looking forward to those events that are upcoming tomorrow night, Tuesday night, and Wednesday night within the next 7 days.
And there's a lot on the way. And on the far side of the Cars Esports Tour race at Myrtle Beach next week, of course, you can catch Outlaws Sim Series action from, I got to think here, Bristol Dirt next Wednesday towards the tail end of our broadcast with the Cars Esports Tour. So that'll be very interesting to see how that goes next week. In fact, they wrapped up about the same time that we did. I think they're going through interviews now and wrapping up their own broadcast. So Emerson Arden, Devin Zimmerman, and Vinny Cortez holding things down for the Outlaws Sim Series. They're wrapping up right alongside us here on a Wednesday night on Pit Stop TV. Make sure to keep up with us on social media for all kinds of updates, all kinds of new storylines, and driver bios, and all of the sorts. A lot happening over on our social media lately. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, Twitch, all of the sorts. We got it going on everywhere, Eric.
Yeah, and I mean, I mentioned the fact that I wasn't on the last North broadcast, I wasn't on the Cars Tour broadcast, but I did, in fact, have my YouTube link up while I was watching in bed with the wife both of those nights, as a matter of fact, trying to see how things were unfolding, because I love everything that we have going on here. There's so many ways to stay on top of things. On Facebook lately, we've been putting a lot of polls out so that way we can get some interaction with some of the fans and viewers, whether it be of a respective series or the platform itself. There's a lot of cool things cooking on the social media front, and I invite everyone to get involved and share it around, show some friends, offer up some advice, interact with us, as this platform and a lot of the series continue to grow in immense capacities. And like I say all the time, man, I'm just happy to be a part of it. Sorry I was late to the party tonight, but I'm sure as heck glad I made it.
It was a good one when it was all said and done. A big shout out to everybody in the International Online Racing League. A lot went into this season to make it all happen, and it all went off without a hitch. All the way back to Indianapolis, even further back to Long Beach. What a season it has been. So glad I even got to participate in one of the weeks that we didn't broadcast back at Mid-Ohio. It's so cool to me that we get to be able to be so close to a league like the International Online Racing League, established in 2013. Its first champion in 2013 is a champion once again for the third time in his career in the league. Zach Buchanan taking top honors in this, the 12th season of competition, and the first time that he's done so on the iRacing.com sim. You'll see some burnouts in the background, but before we go, make sure to, again, follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitch, Twitter, and YouTube. But that will do it from the Auto Club Speedway. Congratulations to our new IORL champion and returning champion, Zach Buchanan. Happy to have had you all here tuning in and joining us for tonight's action, and we hope you enjoyed tonight's broadcast. For all of Pit Stop TV, Eric Brennan, and, well, Trey Shuttlesworth alongside me on the mic, and Trey Shuttlesworth on social media, thank you so much for tuning in. My name is Andrew Cardinale IV, and we will see you next time. Have a great night.